Chapter 558. Who are you? Stuff. Just as Qin Guang was in a daze, two men in black suddenly stood in front of him and stared at him fiercely. Special Affairs Bureau? Qin Guang looked at the two men with his arms crossed. How did you know? The two men became even more nervous. Qin Guang rolled his eyes. Please ask your bureau chief, Comrade Xianxia. I called you to come over. Your attitude is very bad. Qin Guang? The two men looked at each other, and one of them asked, Where is your military ID? I just gave it to a policeman. Hey, it's over there. Bro, over here. Over here. Qin Guang waved at the two policemen who were patrolling in the distance. The man easily drove the car away for Qin Guang. Obviously, he had been taught a lesson by his superior. He walked over with a sullen face and returned the ID to Qin Guang. Where's my car? Don't worry about the details. The car key is here. It's parked outside. You continue with your work. I will talk to these two comrades here. This is my ID. Take a look. He had crashed someone else's car and left it on the side of the road. How could he get away with it without some tricks? Qin Guang was too embarrassed to tell them the truth. He guessed that this man would be punished when he went back. How pitiful. The policeman took the key suspiciously, but when he looked at Qin Guang's expression that everything was fine, his heart was at ease. He turned around and went back to work. After the two men from the Special Affairs Bureau saw Qin Guang's ID, they confirmed his identity. But their attitude did not change. All right, you can go. There's nothing for you here. It seemed that the people from the Special Affairs Bureau were all the same. They all had an expression that said, When I come, the King of Heaven is the most powerful. Qin Guang's face darkened. That's not very good, is it? I have something to talk to your bureau chief about. The bureau chief is very busy. There's nothing to talk to you about. Although Shun's special training camp is respected in the military system, we are not in the same system. You'd better not make things difficult for us. The two gradually became impatient. Qin Guang's brows furrowed tighter and tighter. He felt that something was wrong. They were being too vile. At this moment, another two black-clothed men walked out from the forest with a man and a woman. As they walked, they gave orders to the two of them. Do you remember? You didn't see anything today, so don't tell anyone when you go back. This is a reward of 100,000 yuan, which is allocated by the state. Once you take the money, you have to watch your mouth. Remember, don't tell anyone, not even your parents and relatives. Otherwise, you'll be leaking state secrets. Go back and find out how you'll be sentenced. Don't take any chances. We'll continue to keep an eye on you. The man and the woman's faces were pale. It seemed that they were ordinary people who had come here by mistake. They had seen something they shouldn't have seen and were scared out of their wits. Listening to the staff of the Special Case Department, they nodded their heads like chickens pecking rice. Qin Guang remembered a few poisoning victims he had seen before. When he was chatting with them, these people always avoided eye contact. Although they insisted that it was food poisoning from eating in a hot pot restaurant, in fact, there was something wrong with their eyes. It was just that at that time, Qin Guang's family had just suffered a big change. He was just an ordinary college student with little experience in the world, so he didn't think much about it. Now that he recalled it, he suddenly felt that the reaction of those people at that time was the same as the reaction of these two people when they went out and were asked by others. They clearly knew something, but because they couldn't resist, they absolutely couldn't say it. Qin Guang increasingly wanted to talk to Xianxia face to face. I don't know how busy your director is. I only know that all of you came here with one call from me. Don't play dumb with me. Get out of the way. Qin Guang lifted his legs and walked forward. A large group of people was piled up there. It was the place where third Uncle Wen died. The two people surrounded him from both sides and tried to stop him. If you take another step forward, don't blame us for being rude. Qin Guang looked at the two of them suspiciously. Stop acting. You two know about me, right? You know what I want to ask Xianxia, right? Who knows about you? One of the men in black was about to quibble, but Qin Guang suddenly flashed past the two of them and ran forward. The two hurriedly chased after him, but it was too late. Xianxia, who was frowning and talking to someone, heard the commotion and turned his head to see Chen Guang running over. His mood worsened. Just now, they finally found out the owner of the corpse. It was so big that it made his hair stand on end. The Wen family. Third master. Wen Jingyun. After confirming the identity of this person, the knowledgeable and experienced Xing Yongtai almost fainted. The Special Affairs Bureau was a special department that specialized in cleaning up the loose ends of these forces. They enjoyed superior privileges and status in the country. However, no matter how hard they tried, no matter how much they flattered, they still could not break into the circle. In the eyes of outsiders, they were limitless. However, in the eyes of those forces who were skilled and secretive, it was not an exaggeration to say that the Special Affairs Bureau was a dog wagging its tail and begging for mercy. Even if a descendant of a declining force like the Thousand Despair sect jumped out, it was enough for the Special Affairs Bureau to cooperate with them. That little girl could do whatever she wanted. After decades of operation, those people and forces were still mysterious. Until now, the number of inner force practitioners recorded in the Special Affairs Bureau's records was probably less than 1/10 of the true number. As for how many people had inner force, how strong the strongest inner force practitioners were, where they were hiding, and what methods they used to make a living, they were still in the dark about this information and intelligence. They could only see the tip of the iceberg of the entire martial arts world. In fact, if they really wanted to get to the bottom of the matter, it was not impossible with modern technology, and they could always find some clues. However, more than 10 years ago, a group of powerful people who felt that they were being spied on and were dissatisfied with it did something shocking. They easily shuttled through the heavily guarded compound in the capital city. They either left a note saying that they had been there, or mischievously drew a grimace on someone's face, or secretly left a jade pendant next to someone's pillow with a piece of paper next to it. It read, "Please take care of yourself and cultivate your mind." Their attitude was very clear. Those who were willing to communicate with them, they would naturally do so. However, if they continued to use methods that they did not like to probe, then don't blame them for being merciless. There were many paths, and it was best for everyone to walk their own path and live in peace. The more powerful the person, the more afraid they were of death. From then on, such active probes were completely stopped. Instead, the Special Affairs Bureau was established to clean up the mess that these people had accidentally left behind in the world. Of course, it was not completely impossible for them to carry out intelligence work. For example, declining forces like the Thousand Despair sect would occasionally send someone out to communicate with the outside world. Naturally, the Special Affairs Bureau would treat them like a treasure. Although they did not dare to force any information out of them, what if they were willing to say something? Therefore, they still had some results in the end. For example, the Wen family, who only appeared on paper, was very clear that they were an influential force in that circle. They could recognize Wen Jingyun's identity because, in the process of cleaning up the mess, they had hired a descendant of a certain force to walk in the outside world to help with the identification of Wen Jingyun. At that time, that person had also jumped out of his chair, his face pale with fright, shouting that the world was about to change. How could Xing Yongtai, who was present at the scene, not be afraid? Chen Guang moved closer. "Director Xing, the people from the Special Affairs Bureau are all so ostentatious." Xing Yongtai was in no mood to deal with Chen Guang. He turned his face away and did not want to speak. His mind was filled with analysis of what Third Master Wen's death meant, and what kind of commotion that circle would cause. The Jianghu of those people was probably going to be flooded with blood. At the thought that there might be serious situations that would make one's scalp numb in the near future, he felt a headache coming on. Chen Guang's face darkened. This old man was asking for a beating. In fact, the misunderstanding was caused by Old Man Tan not telling the truth to Xing Yongtai. In the special training camp, Chen Guang, the chief instructor, had taught Xing Yongtai extraordinary skills that were close to divine. His skills were not inferior to those of the Thousand Despair sect, if not better. But after all, Chen Guang did not have internal force. This information was passed to Tan Zhaohua from Xuelin's mouth, and it was absolutely true. When Tan Zhaohua communicated with the Special Affairs Bureau in Yanjin, he considered the uniqueness of the situation. Coupled with the fact that Qin Guang did not have internal force, he only told Xing Yongtai that Qin Guang's current identity was the darts instructor of Shun's special training camp. With Xing Yongtai's authority, he could generally find some information related to Qin Guang. Before coming here, he had taken the initiative to communicate with the Jin family, but that was all he knew. He even despised Tan Zhaohua's flattery in his heart. Darts were not a necessary skill in the military system. Was it necessary for him to give Tan Zhaohua the title of chief instructor just to please the Jin family? In Xing Yongtai's intelligence system, there were only 3 omissions regarding Qin Guang. First, he did not know that Wenwen was Qin Guang's classmate. Second, he did not know that the masked loli who circled around Qin Guang at the World Championship was Xan Qin. Third, because of the conflict between the 2 departments, Tan Zhaohua did not let Xing Yongtai know that in fact, Qin Guang had already asked someone to investigate Wenwen's movements. Only Qin Guang could ask someone to investigate this matter. In the eyes of the Special Affairs Bureau in Yanjin, it was a big taboo. Therefore, Xing Yongtai now only regarded Qin Guang as a lucky man who was lucky enough to hang out with the daughter of a rich family. Today, he was just lucky, or rather, unlucky, to encounter this matter. Perhaps a year ago, his family was very unlucky and was involved in some trivial matter, but he was very lucky and knew a lot of tricks. Now, he was going to make a fortune again. That was all. Xing Yongtai knew that Qin Guang had not given up and wanted to get to the bottom of it, but he really did not want to say more. This bad attitude was not only because he looked down on Qin Guang, but also because he deliberately pretended to be difficult to deal with to make him back off. Qin Guang was angry, but he wanted to ask about his family, so he suppressed his temper. Chief Tseng, I won't take up too much of your time. I just want to ask you about one thing. A year ago, Lulai County in Dachuan Province. Chapter 559. Xing Yongtai waved his hand impatiently. I don't have time for you. What are you doing? Who told you to let those irrelevant people in? Get him out of here. Qin Guang had been annoyed ever since he started chasing after the 2 internal force users. Everyone knew something, but he just had to keep it to himself. He finally lost his temper. F*CKU. I'm giving you face, but you don't want it. Do you really think I'm that easy to bully? He raised his hand to grab Xing Yongtai's neck. Xing Yongtai was also furious. You keep picking fights. Do you really think that you can bully me just because old Master Jin told you about it? Tie him up. Who dares to make a move? At that moment, a sharp yet pleasant voice came from afar. Several silver darts whizzed through the air and landed right in front of the feet of the Beijing Special Affairs Bureau members who were surrounding Qin Guang. They did not dare to take another step forward. At the same time, a petite white figure hurried over from the bushes. Qin Guang raised his eyebrows. Why was Xan Qin here? Xing Yongtai was stunned. The sudden appearance of the little girl made him very wary. You are? Thousand Despair Sect. Xan Qin. Xan Qin landed next to Qin Guang and held his arm. She glared at Xing Yongtai. Are you going to make the Thousand Despair Sect your enemy? Xing Yongtai had heard of Xan Qin's name many times. Recently, cooperating with Xan Qin's work was also their main focus. However, this little girl had always been mysterious, and her actions were always elusive. It was hard to fathom her. Even though she had been promoted to the position of the president of an association under the General Administration of Sport, no one had ever seen her face. Xing Yongtai did not expect that Qin Guang would be acquainted with Xan Qin after he represented the China Escort Association in the World Championship and won the championship. He carefully looked at Xan Qin, comparing her with the few relevant information he had. Her petite and thin stature, her porcelain doll-like face, and her strange footwork that seemed to be stepping on air just now, it was likely that no one would dare to pretend to be her. I'm Xing Yongtai from the Yen Capital Special Affairs Bureau. Nice to meet you, Miss Xan. May I know? Xan Qin waved her hand impatiently. Nothing much. I heard that Brother Qin Guang is here, so I came to watch the fun. After saying that, she turned to look at Qin Guang and said casually, let's go. We shouldn't stay here for long. Qin Guang shook his head and looked at Xing Yongtai. Bureau Chief Tseng, I am only asking a few questions. I am also one of the parties involved. Is that too much? Xianxia looked a little distressed, but since Chen Guang insisted, she didn't say anything else. She just pouted and looked at Tseng Yongtai unhappily. Tseng Yongtai first looked at Chen Guang, then at Xianxia. He moved aside slightly and showed Third Master Wen's body to Xianxia. Miss Xian, this is a serious matter. Are you really going to support him? Xianxia glanced at Third Master Wen from the corner of her eyes. Her body trembled, and she lost control of her hand that was pinching Chen Guang's arm, causing Chen Guang to feel pain. However, she quickly calmed herself down. There's no need to support him. Just like he said, what he wants to ask is not too much. Mr. Tseng, since you know about it, why don't you just have a chat? With me here, you won't be breaking any rules. Just treat it as you telling me, and I will pass it on to him. All right. Tseng Yongtai nodded helplessly and ordered the others to continue cleaning up the mess. He brought Chen Guang and Xianxia to an empty corner. I have an impression of the matter you mentioned. We have to deal with dozens of similar cases every year. Normally, I wouldn't pay attention to such trivial matters. However, I happened to look at your file a few days ago. The Special Affairs Bureau is indeed involved in this matter, but it is the work of the Southwest Branch. Since he had decided to speak, Tseng Yongtai did not hold back. Although Chen Guang already knew that this would be the answer, he still felt relieved when he heard Tseng Yongtai say it so casually. At the same time, he also felt sorrowful and indignant. Then who are you helping to cover up the truth? And what's with the food poisoning? Chen Guang asked, suppressing his anger. Tseng Yongtai shook his head. I don't know. You don't know? How could you not know? You've done so much and all the clues have been cut off. Now you're telling me that you don't know who did it? Are you King kidding me? Chen Guang's eyes widened. He felt that this guy was still playing Tai Chi with him. Tseng Yongtai did not relent. Instead, he said firmly, we really don't know the reason. It's just that after the poisoning case happened, the local department felt strange and reported the matter to us. According to the symptoms of the poisoned person, we speculated that it was suspected to be related to some people from the pugilistic world who used poison. It has reached the standard of handling a special case, and we set the tone for handling it, mainly to maintain stability, so you destroyed the evidence first, and let us take all the blame? Chen Guang asked. Tseng Yongtai was a little embarrassed, but he nodded. Yes, the simplest way to determine the case is, of course, to directly determine that it was food poisoning. We also can't find out who did it. Our focus is only to eliminate the follow-up effects. As for other things, they are not within our scope of consideration. That's so easy. In other words, in order to save those so-called people from the pugilistic world, you let ordinary people like us shoulder all the responsibility? You don't even know who did it, and you're so attentive. Did no one think about whether this is unfair to me and my family? Chen Guang was so angry that he laughed. He only felt that it was sad. Tseng Yongtai was really embarrassed by his interrogation. He argued, I'm also doing this to protect you. It's for your own good. If they insist on getting to the bottom of the matter, once things get worse, they will not hesitate to kill you to silence you. As far as I know, the relevant departments later did not urge your family to pay compensation, right? This is already an appropriate policy and support. You simply don't know what's good for you. Don't know what's good for you? Then I really have to thank you for your great kindness? Chen Guang said sarcastically. Tseng Yongtai was already extremely impatient from the repeated interrogation. Then what do you want? You want to know who did it? I don't know. All of us don't know. Do you want me to bear a thorn and ask for forgiveness? Then I'll apologize to you here, okay? You're not in my position, so you don't know how difficult our work is. Can't you understand a little bit? Chen Guang looked at him for a long time, then shook his head. If you don't want to understand, then forget it, trash. Xianxia, let's go. He did confirm from Tseng Yongtai that this matter was indeed related to internal force users, but it was a pity that the people from the Special Bureau were more useless than he thought. They did not even dare to investigate and only covered up the traces. When the two of them walked far away, Xianxia saw that he was still expressionless. She shook his hand and said, "In fact, it's useless for you to blame him. These people have always been like this when dealing with us. But according to my speculation, it might be like this. Two people who use drugs happened to meet in your restaurant and then quietly competed, causing some of the diners to be implicated and poisoned." Chen Guang shook his head. "Your theory is not valid. It would be better if my family was just accidentally implicated. But this matter is clearly deliberately targeted by someone." Chen Guang told Xianxia about the family he met in Yanjing, then said, "Do you think that if it wasn't deliberate, those people would have made the boy take poison and pretend to be injured, then give him the antidote? Then what are they after?" Xianxia was puzzled. Chen Guang thought for a long time, then spat out two words, "One." From time to time, he would wonder if his relationship with Wenwen had become an entry point for some people to target Wenwen. This possibility was indeed very high, but he did not want to think about it. But when he put together the things he encountered these days, this matter became more and more clear. Presumably, Wenwen also guessed the same. Perhaps she felt guilty, so she had to leave him today. Perhaps she planned to use her power to solve this matter and then give him an explanation. This made Chen Guang feel very complicated. Wenwen. When family. Xianxia suddenly thought of Third Master Wen's body, then looked at Chen Guang with a face full of disbelief. She stared at him for a long time, then turned her face away. "Do you know her?" Chen Guang asked. Xianxia nodded helplessly. "I've heard of her, but I don't know her. She's a proud daughter of heaven. How could she know a small fry like me from a down-and-out sect? Do you know her?" Chen Guang never thought that Xianxia would look so lonely. "Actually, you're not bad. Wenwen and I were university classmates for 3 years. Our relationship is not bad." "Then I really don't know if I should congratulate you or say that you're unlucky. You were involved in the Wen family's matter, and now your family is still alive, thank God. Don't expect the people from the Special Affairs Bureau to help you. I don't believe that Wenwen didn't investigate it herself. Since you had a good relationship with her, and she didn't help you solve this matter, I'm afraid she didn't find anything herself. Today, Third Master Wen died here. I'm afraid this is a big conspiracy against the Wen family. On the surface, the Special Affairs Bureau is cleaning up the mess, but in the dark, someone is stirring up trouble behind the Wen family's back. With this two-pronged approach, it would be strange if you could find anything. My spear is really sturdy." Chen Guang sighed. Xianxia patted him on the shoulder and said, "That's enough. It's all in the past. You're doing pretty well now. Don't worry about the past and look forward to the future. There's no obstacle in life that can't be overcome." "I'm not used to being lectured by a little girl who's still wet behind the ears." Chen Guang forced a smile. "In my opinion, Wenwen is not kind. Someone like her shouldn't have friends, especially an ordinary person like you. With the status of the Wen family, a small dispute is enough to kill an ordinary person like you 100 times over. Didn't she think that being friends with you would bring you trouble?" Chen Guang shook his head. "I can't explain it to you. Don't talk behind her back." What did Wenwen want from him? Chen Guang asked himself in his heart. Of course not. Compared to her, he's just a poor loser. Perhaps he might have changed after obtaining the heavenly Holy Grail, but before that, there wasn't anything worth coveting about him. His relationship with Wenwen was complicated, but it was actually simple. It was like a tortoise looking at a mung bean. Putting aside all external factors, it was just two people with similar tastes. Regardless of gender difference, status difference, or the strange combination of a goddess and a loser, the relationship between the two was laughable. Perhaps it was really childish, but in Chen Guang's eyes, it was that especially pure and unambitious friendship. Her brothers. Wenwen's feelings must have been very complicated. She must have considered what Xianxia said. Otherwise, with their relationship, she would not have kept silent when there were so many opportunities to help him. Although she knew that he would most likely reject her, she did not mention it. This was precisely why she did not want outsiders to know that their relationship was very close. But in the end, she could not avoid these things. Xan Qin told him not to get involved and not to think about these things anymore, but Chen Guang felt that he definitely could not do it. He clenched the cup in his hand, lifted it up, and took a heavy gulp. Whether it was for Wang Lin or for the grievances he and his family had suffered, he could not let this matter go so easily. Moreover, since he had already gotten involved, it would not be so easy to get out now. Now that third Uncle Wen had just died, the confrontation between Wang Wen and her hidden enemies had obviously not ended. God knew when those people would once again set their sights on a so-called small fry like him. When that time came, he was afraid that it would really be a disaster. Chen Guang had enough of such a passive situation. Since there were people who could threaten his and his family's lives at any time, why not directly and neatly link them together? Rise. I am now the master of the heavenly Holy Grail. No matter how powerful an inner strength person is, he is still a human. His backer is God. The old man now had 7 statues of gods, and his daily faith value was more than 100,000. The old man was very confident. He suddenly lifted the cup and pretended to drink, but his head plunged into the boundary of the cup. Chapter 560. He was thinking about something. Currently, he had a daily production of 130,000 faith points. Previously, when he was training Wang Lin to construct the fake cup world, he had used up 600,000 faith points. Since paying faith points could provide Wang Lin with the fake cup world, as the owner of the Holy Grail, he should be even more qualified to enjoy this benefit. Paying faith to enter the Skyline Cup required approximately 6,600,000 faith points. In that case, if he paid 600,000 faith points, he should be able to enter the Skyline Cup's intermediate world once. That way, he could pay faith points in bulk and continuously receive the Skyline Cup's intermediate world training. Entering the Spirit Seeing Cup world once every 5 days was the goal of continuously strengthening his physical body. He couldn't just have the strongest Qilin arm in history, he also had to have Wind God's legs, Heaven's legs, Iron Bridge, Black Tortoise back, and Vajra head. If the conditions were good, he could even train the strongest chest muscles in history. Small penis? Oh, there was no need to train there, it was even stronger than the Qilin arm, but the 2 hanging missiles could also be trained. Chen Guang's plan was very simple. Using the model of the Qilin arm, he would pass through the Spirit Seeing Cup world in batches and train every part of his body to the extreme. Although he didn't have inner strength, as long as he trained other parts to be as strong as the Qilin arm, who would he be afraid of? I'll let you inner strength people see that without inner strength, I'll still be better than you in perfect form. Thick line. The 7 divine statues that I'm so proud of. His figure slowly condensed in the world in the cup, incomparable heroic spirit reaching the clouds. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that he was quick-witted to actually take the initiative to think of such a great plan to become an expert. Alright, actually, this matter was quite **T. Other people's personal grandpas should have sent a similar shortcut to the main character from the start. Baby, you have to remember, you can't do this here, you have to do that here. Why? You don't understand, let this old grandpa give you a demonstration. This wasn't the end, I still have to urge you every day, baby, work harder, baby, work harder, baby, if you don't work harder, the 2 of us will have nothing to eat. He turned around and looked at Lord Lioli. Apart from stuffing the cup into his hand, what else had she done? Ever since he met her in the first few worlds in the cup, she could still use the tone of reciting scriptures that she had prepared in advance and explain a little bit to herself when she broke into the world in the cup. Later on, she became more and more lazy. It was fine if she could not explain anymore, but there were more and more things that she did not know. Just like the faith point thread that changed color when she was training Wang Lin a few days ago, she didn't understand it at all. She only knew that it could be done this way, but she didn't know that cultivating Wang Lin could also bring out a subsidiary fanatic. Moreover, she was not ashamed of it. Instead, she was proud of it. She had an expression that said, "You're a lab rat. You deserve to feel the stones to cross the river. Hey, this cup is specially used to imprison you, the Divine Emperor. You have lived in it for so many years. Did you fall asleep? As for this unreliable personal grandpa, "Oh no, personal big-breasted divine emperor," Chen Guang expressed extreme contempt from the bottom of his heart. As the cheat behind the old man, she did not do proper work all day long. She only knew how to play games and watch TV dramas. She was addicted to the internet. It was not easy for her to help him get some investment to start a business. So far, 170 million had been thrown out, but there was no sign of a bubble. It looked like it was going to go down the drain. You are a typical useless teammate, extremely incompetent. As the saying goes, whoever has milk is the mother. People tend to remember the shortcomings of the people around them, but not the kindness of others to them. Chen Guang did not remember how many times he had shouted, "Lioli, save me," in his heart, but after that, she tried to do everything possible to help him. He only remembered that Lioli would sometimes throw a tantrum at him. Therefore, after people became familiar with each other, they would gradually lose their sense of mystery as their relationship grew closer. The way they interacted with each other would become more casual. For example, when many people talked to their own family, they would always have a bad temper, always feeling that there was an endless fire in their hearts. However, when facing strangers, they would be polite and gentle. Then, floating in the air, he opened his eyes and saw the empty cloud platform. He thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He shook his head and stared at it with his eyes wide open. Where are the statues of the old man? Where are my beloved alto, the champion's shield, the sky-raising dart, the Kirin arm, the white piano, the oversized pencil, and the miniature ding-ding? Gone? That's impossible. This was like a heavy blow to the head. Just a second ago, he had placed his life's hopes on these statues and was counting on them to make a comeback. In the end, when he came in, he saw that they were all gone. His life's hopes had all gone up in smoke. Chen Guang's body staggered and he almost fell to the ground. His mind felt as if it had been struck by lightning. He didn't even give up and threw himself onto the cloud platform of the Kirin arm. He lay on the ground and looked around at the position of the Kirin arm in his memory, but he still couldn't find anything. A strange wind started blowing in the Cloud Sea Cup world, blowing Chen Guang into a mess. He felt as if the wind was bleak and the water was cold, and he didn't want to live anymore. Damn it! Don't mess with me! Where's my statue? Where did it go? Chen Guang was so flustered that he wanted to run out and find a magnifying glass to hold in his hand. Then, he would come back and carefully search the cloud platform inch by inch. No, ask Lioli. Chen Guang stood up and jumped down. He shouted as he ran towards the center of Cloud City. Lioli! Where's my statue? Where's the statue? No one? She's actually not here? The computer desk was empty. Ever since he gave her a computer, this was the first time Chen Guang didn't see her by the computer. She was a serious internet addict. This was simply a fantasy. Dear Cry Flower, right? Where's Lioli? Did you see her? Chen Guang ran back to the small wooden house and asked. Dear Cry ignored him. My waist is broken. I can't talk. As the culprit who broke her, although he knew she was lying, Chen Guang couldn't do anything to her. After all, she broke her waist from top to bottom. After searching for half an hour in Cloud City, Chen Guang finally found Lioli in a corner outside the city wall. Oh, what a coincidence. When did you come? Lioli had a faint smile on her face. What are you doing here? I often think about who I am, where I come from, where I'm going, and what's the meaning of my God's life. Every time I think about this, I'll find a quiet corner and think about it quietly. I'll watch the tides rise and fall above the sea of clouds. I don't know how long it has been. Lu Li, who was only wearing a bikini feather dress, spoke with a celestial aura. Then, where's my statue? Lioli smiled. You can't bring the statue with you when you're alive, and you can't take it with you when you're dead. Don't care about the details. You have a whole 3,000 worlds. Don't worry about the gains and losses of this time. As the dignified savior, you have to learn to look forward. But now the faith value is gone. Don't care about the details. This is the natural evolution of the heavenly Holy Grail. Try to feel it with your heart. Your statue has already turned into a sky full of stars and completely integrated into this sea of clouds. They are everywhere. Chen Guang took a deep breath. I've felt it, there isn't. That's because your realm hasn't reached it yet. Work hard, fight hard. Sooner or later, you'll be able to use your heart to find traces of them. Lily was still smiling indifferently, but she was cursing in her heart. Damn it, are you done yet? I can't act anymore. It's so strenuous. Deercry's idea was quite bad. My statue of God. I'll fight you to the death. At this time, I'm relying on them to train my ultimate skills and counterattack. You've lost them for no reason. Now you're still talking nonsense with me. You have to give me an explanation. Chen Guang finally jumped up and pressed his fist towards Lioli. I'll make you not bring it with you when you're alive. I'll make you not bring it with you when you die. I'll make you look forward. I'll make you everywhere. Chen Guang roared and punched out. Lioli also flipped out. She pressed down on Chen Guang's fist and kicked him into the air. I also don't know why it disappeared. It disappeared for no reason. What's the use of flipping out at me? I also don't know why. I just watched it disappear and become smaller and smaller. I wanted to investigate what happened outside the Holy Grail, but I couldn't do anything. It disappeared for no reason. You can't blame me. As expected, I'm not his match. About half an hour later, a disheartened Chen Guang lay on the ground with a swollen face. Thinking about it, losing the statue doesn't seem to be a big deal. Lily jumped back. She was shocked by his lifeless tone. Although she had finally relied on her fists as planned to make this kid behave, his current state clearly showed that he had suffered a heavy blow. It seemed like he was going to give up. Sigh, thinking about it carefully, I really can't muster up any energy. I feel like my body has been hollowed out. Chen Guang muttered as he lay on the ground. Lily looked again. Damn, this guy is so depressed that he's about to melt. Is the situation really that serious? I've worked hard for a few decades, and now I'm back to square one. The statue is gone, and so are my faith points. Even if I continue to work hard to build a new statue, it will disappear for no reason sooner or later like now. It's already melted. Lioli looked at Chen Guang, whose spirit body had already turned into a puddle on the ground, and screamed loudly. Don't die. Hold on a little longer. Lioli lay beside the puddle and scooped up a handful of water with both hands. My butt hurts a little. Lioli let go because the color of the puddle of water was yellow and not very elegant. So it was his butt. It's already turned into water. So novel. At some unknown time, Lu Minghua had pulled out her roots from the floor of Cloud City. She jumped with the wooden house and looked at Chen Guang on the ground. Lioli rolled her eyes at her. It's all your bad idea. You said to just beat him up. Now that it's like this, tell me what to do? But I didn't tell you to beat him into a puddle of water. He was so depressed that his spirit body melted, and you're blaming me? I don't care, it looks very delicious. It doesn't rain in Cloud City, and I'm so thirsty. I'll drink a mouthful first. Lu Minghua jumped again. The wooden house and the roots landed on the puddle of water that Chen Guang had turned into. Water sprayed everywhere, and the branches suddenly swelled. Ah, so delicious, so comfortable. Lioli's mouth opened wider and wider. Damn. I'm going crazy. Zhen is going crazy. Which part of his body did you suck in? Spit it out. Spit it out for me. Lu Minghua burped. I don't know, it feels very nourishing. Chapter 561. Chen Guang, who had turned into a puddle of water, was also scared out of his wits. It was already inexplicable that he turned into water in the cup world. Just now, when Lioli picked up a part of his butt, it was even more painful. Now, this flower had directly sucked away a puddle of water. How could he not panic? I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Where did you suck away? Chen Guang screamed. Lioli pounced forward and pretended to grab Lu Minghua's branch, trying to squeeze out the water that had been sucked into her stomach. This was obviously unrealistic. Lu Minghua burped again, then shook her body, and half of the branch sprang up out of thin air. She said with satisfaction, "It has been digested." Lioli was completely dumbfounded, Your digestion speed is a bit fast. What should I do? I'm going to die. Liuli, I'm going to die. I don't even know where I've been eaten. Chen Guang continued to scream. You should cheer up a little and transform your spiritual body back for me. Won't you know where it's gone after transforming? Why are you still lying on the ground? Aren't you afraid that she will suck it again? Liuli picked up the wooden box and pressed it to the side. She turned around and urged Chen Guang. About 10 minutes later, Chen Guang slowly returned to his human form, but halfway through he didn't panic anymore. Just now, when he was inexplicably in the form of water, Liuli grabbed his butt, which was very painful. But this time, when part of his body was sucked away by Lu Minghua, he didn't feel any pain. Either he had already died, or she had sucked to a place that was not painful or itchy. In the process of Chen Guang's transformation, Lu Minghua also had an accident. She didn't move anymore, but she continued to grow taller at a speed visible to the naked eye. Her branch became translucent, constantly flickering with strange flowing light. Liuli tried to shout a few words, but Lu Minghua completely ignored her. Obviously, she had entered a mysterious state that was beyond Liuli's understanding. Liuli was also having a headache. The more she thought about it, the more she felt like she was being cheated. These two people were more troublesome than the other. Forget about Chen Guang, this mischievous guy, but Lu Minghua, who followed him here, was also crazy. Once he was crazy, he ate a piece of Chen Guang. If he wanted to do something, he would do it big. Liuli had no idea what would happen after she absorbed Chen Guang's spiritual body. Chen Guang carefully checked every inch of his body, but he didn't find anything missing. Strange, what's going on? He clearly felt like his body was being hollowed out, but why didn't anything decrease? Could it be that a part of his stomach was missing? F***ck, this taste is a little heavy. That's not right either. It doesn't hurt anywhere? Even if the most useless appendix was sucked out, there should at least be some pain, right? Chen Guang turned his head and asked Liuli, do I look like I'm missing weight? Liuli looked back at him. She lost control of her emotions. What's going on? What's wrong with you? You're making me feel very uneasy. Why don't you touch your head? Stupid. Liuli conjured a mirror in her hand and threw it at Chen Guang. Chen Guang caught the mirror with one hand and touched his head with the other. Then, he looked at the shiny salted duck egg in the mirror and was silent for more than 10 seconds before letting out a long sigh. It's just a loss of hair. At most, I'll join the anti-Baldy alliance later. That Baldy president will definitely become an even more loyal fan of mine when he sees that I'm cooperating with him. Have you ever seen a celebrity shave his head to cooperate with his fan club? I'm such an approachable internet celebrity of the new era. You don't seem to mind? Liuli sat cross-legged beside Chen Guang and looked at Lu Minghua, who was still growing taller and had already broken the wooden house. Chen Guang also sat beside her calmly. What's wrong with that? It's just a bald head. At most, I'll be Wuku for a few days. It'll grow back sooner or later. Hee hee. Liuli smiled without saying anything. Don't smile like that. You're giving me goosebumps. Just tell me what's wrong. I'm mentally prepared. Liuli touched his scalp that was as smooth as a boiled egg. It feels really good. It's not bad to think that I'll have such a comfortable bowling ball in the future. You mean my hair won't grow back? Chen Guang faintly felt that something was wrong. Liuli nodded and swung her beautiful black hair to slap Chen Guang's face. You're now in a spiritual state. Your hair in the spiritual state has been eaten. When you go out, your real hair will quickly dry up and then, forever. Damn it. Don't be sad. I think your bald head looks more handsome than usual. Believe me, this is God's sense of beauty. It's not wrong. Don't many football stars like to shave their heads in this world? For example, your favorite Brazilian Ronaldo? Carlos? And what's his name again? Zidane? Zidane, that's the Mediterranean that comes out of hair loss. Forget it, stop struggling. Since things have come to this, you might as well accept reality. Without hair, you can effectively reduce wind resistance when you exercise vigorously. The shape of your head right now is very aerodynamic. As expected of a veteran netizen, these modern words came out of Liuli's mouth like it was a game. Is there really no chance for it to grow back? Don't ask me. This emperor is getting more and more confused about this broken cup of yours. Figure it out yourself. From the inexplicable disappearance of the divine statue to you turning into water, and now Deer Cry's situation, this old lady is also very confused, okay? Maybe, when the heavenly holy grail is upgraded from the one-line sky to the third cloud sky, what new changes will there be? Maybe, when the heavenly holy grail is upgraded from the one-line sky to the third cloud sky, what new changes will there be? As Qin Guang sucked in a cold breath, he roared, "I'll be a fool if I believe you." Stop talking nonsense, there's a situation. While the two of them were chatting, the Deer Cry flower in front of them finally grew bigger and bigger. In just a few minutes, it had actually shot up over 100 feet. The stem that she had broken off earlier grew back. Pieces of green leaves that were larger than shutters swayed without any wind. The flower bud at the top rapidly expanded from its bud state, and then bloomed into a magnificent and colorful giant flower. This flower had a diameter of several feet. Chen Guang touched his bald head and stared blankly at this giant flower that rose up into the sky. Although he didn't want to admit it, touching his bald head was really addictive. So my hair is actually so nourishing. He silently lowered his head and started thinking about the other hairs on his body. He wondered if he could rely on selling his body hair in the future to make a fortune. Liuli chuckled at him again. Chen Guang looked at the giant flower bud that was bent down and hanging in midair. Could it be that a seed will grow from inside? That it will produce a flower fairy? As he said this, the flower stopped moving. It no longer continued to grow taller and taller. It looked exactly the same as when it first appeared in the cup world, except that it was much bigger. Liuli sighed. Is it over just like this? I thought it could transform. Sister Liuli, I'm still lacking something. Help me. The Deer Cry flower finally spoke. Liuli stood up. How can I help? Come a little closer and lend me some divine power. The Deer Cry flower said again. Liuli stood a little closer. Come a little closer. She came even closer. In the next moment, the several giant leaves of the Deer Cry flower suddenly swept down and swept Liuli up with lightning speed. What are you doing? Liuli wanted to use force to break free, but she was worried that she would hurt the Deer Cry flower, so she could only scream angrily. Sister Liuli, I'm just a little bit away from transforming. You have to help me. Chen Guang was also shocked by this scene. Recalling that the Deer Cry flower had just eaten his hair, he thought to himself, could it be that she was going to eat Liuli? *CK. This can't be. Although this female rogue god emperor was very unreliable, although her temper was also very bad, although she had this and that bad, the old man absolutely could not sit idly by and do nothing. Risk it all. Just as he was about to raise his leg and rush forward, he heard Liuli cry out in alarm and put her down. She didn't want to eat Liuli. Deer Cry, this old lady has been tricked to death by you. My lustrous feather dress. Oh my God. Lustrous feather dress. This old lady finally brought in the only divine dress, and you just let me eat it? Do you want this old lady to not be able to wear it for the rest of her life? No wonder Liuli was so furious. Although her lustrous feather dress had suffered a lot and often couldn't be condensed, she didn't care much about it when she didn't have it. She just used clouds to cover it, and when she could condense it, she just used some cloth to cover her body. More than half of her divine power was wasted elsewhere. But it was different this time. It was completely gone. Chen Guang was happy. Oh, it's the clothes that are gone. Not bad at all. This Deer Cry is one of us. Opportunity. As an experienced old man, how could he let such a heaven-sent opportunity slip by him? Liuli had just suffered a great change and hadn't thought of condensing clouds to cover her body. At this moment, her smooth and round divine buttocks were swaying in front of Qin Guang like a full moon in the night sky. This was not the first time he saw the benefits behind Liuli, but every time he saw these two halves of the sacred object, Chen Guang felt that his aesthetic standards would be refreshed to a new height. Head can be broken, blood can flow, but benefits can't be lost. I want to see the front. Chen Guang tiptoed forward silently. When he was about to pass by Deer Cry, he fiercely leaped forward, turned his body in midair, and opened his eyes wide. But success or failure depended on this one move. He sprinted forward like a cannonball. His head gradually passed by Lioli, and his eyes opened wider and wider. At this moment, Lioli was immersed in the pain of losing the lustrous feather robe. How could she have thought that there was a female wolf stripping clothes in front of her and a male thief peeping behind her? When Chen Guang's head completely passed the midline and looked at the pair of perfect creations with pink jade on the peak, his mind was completely blank. What kind of beautiful scenery was this? It could make people forget all the sadness and unhappiness in the world and thoroughly cleanse their souls. This was simply a demon. In an instant, it devoured all of Chen Guang's consciousness like poison. He had once thought that after spending 200 years in the transient sea, he was already a man with a very firm will. He would definitely not easily lose his reason in front of a woman's body, but now he understood that he was only half right. He did have some resistance towards women, but this time, the one he was facing was a real goddess. In a trance, Chen Guang once again thought of Lioli's divine emperor true body. At this moment, her full of benefits was fully exposed, and it was not inferior to the spiritual pressure brought by the true body. The difference was that it was oppressive torture, but this time it was a completely intoxicating enjoyment. Lioli was cursing when she saw a cannonball darting past her. She turned her head to look. "Damn, what's with your eyes?" The old pervert's eyes were suffused with a divine light. "Are you going against the heavens? The obsession in your heart is a bit too strong." She cried out in alarm and hurriedly covered her head with one hand and her lower body with the other. Pure white mist quickly appeared around her, covering her body first. Before his head hit the Deer Cry flower, Chen Guang was unconscious. On the other side, the Deer Cry flower was absorbing the lustrous feather robe, but it suddenly cried out. It was unknown where Chen Guang had hit. Lioli covered her mouth and looked at Chen Guang, whose head was half embedded in the Deer Cry flower stem, who was trying to pull it out with both hands, but could not pull it out. She then listened to the Deer Cry flower's rather meaningful cry. This was really, evil people get their retribution. Both of them were not good people, so they deserved it. At this moment, something strange happened again. The place where Chen Guang's head was embedded in the Deer Cry flower suddenly burst out with a dazzling light, and waves of the Deer Cry flower's divine sense poured out like a tide. Countless vines extended from the Deer Cry flower and fiercely stabbed into the ground of Cloud City. The Deer Cry flower's body also gradually faded, as if it was really going to disappear. "Lioli, save me!" Chen Guang and the Deer Cry flower shouted at the same time. Lioli's beautiful face changed. At this moment, she finally understood the current situation. First of all, the divine statue inexplicably disappeared. Then, the Deer Cry flower ate the hair of Chen Guang's spiritual body. While it was greatly nourished, it formed an extremely profound connection with Chen Guang and the heavenly sacred grail. Then, in order to transform, she ate her lustrous feather dress. In the flower body condensed from her divine sense, her own divine power, Chen Guang's spiritual body and divine sense, her lustrous feather dress, and the power of God's wrath that brought her here. The composition of her power became unprecedentedly complex. Finally, Chen Guang's head was embedded in her body. Chen Guang himself was the hub of the heavenly sacred grail, so he immediately connected the Deer Cry flower and the heavenly sacred grail's realm in the cup. If nothing unexpected happened, with the Deer Cry flower's current power, facing the ocean-like power of the heavenly sacred grail, she was destined to become a drop of water in the vast ocean. She was going to be assimilated by the grail. Right now, she only had this spiritual body. Without it, everything would be over. So she called for help. As for Chen Guang, his spiritual body was used as a medium. For a moment, an excessively powerful power passed through his body. Just like a person getting an electric shock, he couldn't hold on any longer. "Count it as my bad luck, Sai." Lioli sighed. Who told her to have such two clowns? She immediately sat down cross-legged. A moment later, a translucent, shimmering super-small Lioli appeared above her head. It drew a meteor-like trace in the air and fiercely slammed into the place where Chen Guang and the deer cry flower were stuck together. A loud sound rang out. Chen Guang was blasted away. His head tilted to one side and he fainted again. When he woke up again, the first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was a familiar scene. The sky was filled with the familiar threads of faith value. Did the old man's faith value return? What happened just now? Chen Guang got up from the ground. The huge deer cry flower was still standing there, shining with colorful brilliance as if it was surrounded by a rainbow. The edge of the flower and leaves seemed to have some emerald green mist, like a gauze curtain. That should be the transformation of Liuli's lustrous feather dress that she had eaten. The threads that filled the sky came from the sky and directly connected to the deer cry flower. Regarding this situation, Chen Guang immediately understood. The deer cry flower had replaced the function of the statue. On the other side, Liuli was wrapped in clouds and sat at the side with a bitter face. He didn't know what she was worried about. Chen Guang leaned over and said, "What's the situation?" Liuli turned her head and glared at him fiercely. "You're the winner." Immediately after, Chen Guang saw her wave her hand and a huge force came toward him. When he came back to his senses, he was already outside. In the cup world, Liuli and deer cry flower looked at each other for a long time. "That, Sister Liuli, I didn't do it on purpose." The situation was completely out of control. Deer cry flower said without apology. Liuli sighed. "What should we do now? A strand of my soul was sucked into the Holy Grail. I did knock the two of you away just now, but my own strand of soul was sucked away. Tell me, what should we do now?" "Isn't this good?" "How is it good?" The world in a cup that he had experienced before was one thing, but judging from the current situation, this means that the next time a cup world like the Sea of Time appears, I will be that Captain Annie. In the world of Dota, I will be that computer. In the racing god training field, I will be that alto car. In the world of pencil sharpening, I will be that F** king pencil sharpener. Boat driving skills, oh, he hasn't learned it yet. I will become that boat. In the world of the Qilin arm, I will be that brass firework. Pile driver? Damn, don't mention that thing. In short, won't I be tormented to death by him? Deer Cry thought for a moment. But looking at your expression, even though you say no, your body is honestly looking forward to it? At this moment, Chen Guang suddenly rushed in. I forgot to ask something. It's very important. For some reason, he felt that the current Liuli was like a firecracker that would explode at the slightest touch. I'll give you 1 minute. Make it short, Liuli said angrily. Chen Guang hurriedly explained the plan that he had thought of in one breath. Liuli sucked in a breath of cold air. Just when she was vexed that she was going to turn into a car, a boat, a brass firework, and some cup, you're telling me that you plan to experience the world of the Heavenly Spirit Cup in batches? Chen Guang rubbed his hands in distress. This time, there's really no other way. I've been forced into a desperate situation by the matters outside. If I don't think of a way to become more powerful, there's a risk that my entire family might be exterminated if I'm not careful. Otherwise, Lord Liuli, can you leak a bit of your godly power outside and bless me with an easy victory? Otherwise, I'll really die. Liuli endured for a very long time. Her heart was filled with countless corpses. In the end, she gritted her teeth and said, All right, no problem. I'll start preparing for you from now on. All right, love you much. After Chen Guang said that, he took the initiative to run away. When he disappeared once again, Deer Cry shook its huge flower bud. Sister Liuli, take care. I'm almost broken by the two of you, really, Liuli said. Chapter 562. When he opened his eyes, the outside world was still beautiful. Beside him, Xianxia, who was walking side by side with him, was still looking at him with a sad expression. I said something wrong about Wenwen, and you're not happy? Did I say anything wrong? Xianxia raised her nose, looking like a little girl throwing a tantrum. Chen Guang patted her head. You're a kid, you don't understand adult things. I said I'm an adult. Xianxia stamped her feet and wanted to run away, But after 2 steps, she stopped reluctantly and looked back at Chen Guang. "Why don't you chase me?" Chen Guang laughed. "Watch less TV and don't learn these melodramatic scenes." "I think you're quite melodramatic. I really don't know what you're thinking. Let's not get involved in the Wen family's business, okay? You look like you won't give up, and I'm worried." Chen Guang covered his heart. "How can I be so favored by you? Why are you so nice to me?" He was almost moved. He and Xianxia hadn't known each other for a long time, but she was so warm-hearted. "If you die, who's going to help me promote darts? I have a master's order. If you die, who will I go to?" Xianxia finally told the truth. "Even if you lie to me, it's fine. Don't be so worldly." Chen Guang's touched feelings disappeared instantly. This little girl was too straightforward. At this moment, a gust of wind blew through the mountain forest, and Chen Guang's scalp began to itch. He knew it was time. His life would be completely rewritten at this moment. From then on, he would step on the road of being a powerhouse. To be a powerhouse, first of all, he had to be bald. Although you said so, and Xing Yongtai also said so, maybe if it was someone else, they would think that I was courting death. But on second thought, since I was dragged into this from the beginning, do I have a way out? There is no such thing. Even if I bury my head in the ground like an ostrich, those people won't bother me? Since they could look for me and my family once because of Wen, wouldn't there be a second and third time? Xianxia pondered for a long time. So, I have to become stronger, right? I'm afraid you don't understand what it means to be an inner force martial artist. We are different from you. Even if you're Wenwen's friend, you're just an ordinary person. I want to help you, but I'm powerless. It's too late for you to learn martial arts now. Chen Guang shook his head. You don't understand who I am. Little girl, you are still very naive. Xianxia rolled her eyes and looked at Chen Guang as if he was an idiot. She felt that this person was seriously ill and needed treatment. He must have been scared silly. I feel like I'm about to become stronger. I'll become very, very strong. Chen Guang's face was brimming with a confident smile. As he spoke, the wind blew over his head. His hair snapped in the wind and flew away. In midair, his hair that had been cut off directly turned into specks of dust, thoroughly decomposed by the wind. In an instant, a fresh and dazzling salted duck egg bald head appeared in front of Xianxia. Under the scorching afternoon sun, it shone with a dazzling radiance. Xianxia was shocked. Saitama-sensei. You also watch One Punch Man? It's pretty good, isn't it? I'm a little surprised. I didn't expect a tsundere loli like you to like silly cartoons. You're bald now. Aren't you even more silly? Life is unpredictable. I can't explain it to you. Xianxia's nerves were obviously much more tenacious than ordinary people. If it was someone else who saw the person next to them become bald in such a strange way, they would have long been scared out of their wits, thinking that a ghost had shaved his head in broad daylight. She unexpectedly accepted the reality without any discomfort. The two of them had a profound but simple discussion about who was stronger between Saitama and Sion. In the end, neither of them wanted to talk to the other. As a fresh bald head, Chen Guang of course had to defend the honor of a strong bald head, but Xianxia firmly believed that Sion, who had countless forms, had more potential. The two of them almost fought. This intense topic came to an end when Chen Guang took out a jade bottle from his crotch, oh no, from his trouser pocket, which he had found in the car of the two escaping master warriors. Xianxia exclaimed as soon as she saw the bottle, "Power pill? Power pill? What's that?" Chen Guang was at a loss as he held the bottle in his hand. Xianxia snatched the jade bottle from his hand and held it in front of her eyes to carefully examine it. She said, "This is a kind of elixir that is specially used for inner force warriors to take in an emergency to increase their strength. It is jointly produced by our Thousand Despair sect and Thousand Flowers Valley. Thousand Flowers Valley is responsible for making elixirs, and our Thousand Despair sect is good at hidden weapons. This jade bottle is the work of our Thousand Despair sect. It can guarantee the effectiveness of the power pill for 10 years. So powerful? Chen Guang's interest was piqued. Xianxia was quite embarrassed. My sect used to be very powerful, But now we can only rely on this little gadget to make a living with Thousand Flowers Valley. Why don't you sell it to ordinary people? It's quite profitable. For ordinary people, this is a poison that penetrates their intestines. They will die in less than 5 seconds. Fortunately, I didn't eat it. Chen Guang rejoiced. You snatched it from the 2 people you were chasing? Yes. Xianxia thought about it and returned the bottle to Chen Guang. She looked like she wanted to say something but was hesitant. Can you be more honest? Your acting is worse than mine. I know you must have discovered something just by looking at you. Don't be like that. You're making things difficult for me. You're making things difficult for me if you don't tell me. All right. Actually, only the core disciples of our Thousand Despair sect and Thousand Flowers Valley know about this. Actually, every jade bottle we make has a special mark. I know which batch this is, and I also know who this batch of power pill was sold to. Who? But I don't want to tell you. We can't be friends anymore if you keep this up. The 2 of them bickered for a long time. When they returned to the city, Chen Guang did not speak to Xianxia for 3 whole hours. Xianxia finally sighed. This batch of power pill was produced about 3 years ago. It was sold in batches to a subordinate sect of Poison Sect. If everything went as expected, it ended up in the pockets of Poison Sect's disciples. Since Chen Guang had snatched the jade bottle from the 2 people, it was very likely that the 2 people had a close relationship with Poison Sect. Now that Poison Sect was powerful, it was impossible for outsiders to snatch something from Poison Sect's disciples. Chen Guang remembered the name and asked Xianxia if she knew where the Wen family was. Xianxia rejected him without hesitation. I don't know. I won't tell you even if I know. After Xianxia left, Chen Guang immediately took out his phone and called Wen. She kept her promise and did not lose contact this time. After a while, the call was picked up. I'm home. You don't have to worry about me. Where are you? Wen's voice was filled with exhaustion. It was heart-wrenching. Chen Guang thought about it and told her everything that happened after she left today. You're saying that 2 more people came to spy on you? Wen was vaguely regretting her lack of consideration today. She had left in a hurry. If she had hidden a little longer, she might have been able to catch the 2 people. However, she could not be blamed for that. At that time, she was so confused by the strange movement in her body when Chen Guang approached her that she could not think clearly. Yes, I had a simple fight with them. What? Are you all right? Chen Guang laughed. Sigh, I'm not bragging. Although I don't have inner force, they were not my match at all. I beat them up from the beginning until the end. They could not fight back at all. It's a pity that they escaped. That's impossible. Although you know some hidden weapon skills, there's no way you can fight against inner force in a head-on fight. You still don't believe me? Listen to me. Chen Guang told Wen the whole process of his fight with the 2 people in detail, especially when he punched the middle-aged man's shoulder. He felt a strange numbing and burning inner force in the meridians of his left hand and the thunderbolt fire thrown by the middle-aged man. The most important evidence was Xianxia's judgment of the strength pill produced by the Thousand Despair sect. After listening, Wen understood in her heart, but she did not reveal it to Chen Guang. All right, you should rest early. I have to meditate. How is it? I can help you, right? You told me to stay out of it. Chen Guang did not want to give up and asked for credit. Unexpectedly, Wen was silent for a while before she slowly said, I beg you, really. Don't meddle in this anymore. I said I would give you an explanation. Don't you trust me? You staying out of it is the biggest help to me. I don't like what you said. You have to listen even if you don't like it. I'll hang up first or else I'll beat you up later. Wen said and hung up the phone with a snap. Chen Guang held the phone in a bad mood, then looked at the cup in his hand. Fine, you're a strong woman. You're great, your fists are big. When the old man achieves great martial arts, I'll make you kneel and sing conquer to the old man, okay? Rolling his eyes, Chen Guang did not care that it was already nighttime. He called Qian Ming and took the initiative to say that he was willing to go to the Shun's special training camp tomorrow to continue the special training. Qian Ming was overjoyed and immediately reported the news to Old Man Tan. Old Man Tan immediately arranged for people to pick up Qin Guang and go to the Shun's special training camp the next morning. Other than that, he also selected new elites in the Yanjing military region to become the second batch of special training members for Chief Instructor Qin Guang. This was also Qin Guang's request. Qin Guang's plan was very simple. Since he was going to consume a lot of faith points to enter the middle realm of the spiritual heavenly cup, he naturally had to hurry up and increase the production of faith points. The most efficient method was naturally this special training with darts. The next morning he woke up early. The Shun's special training camp's car that was responsible for picking him up was already waiting in the hotel parking lot. At the same time, military elites from all over the country were selected one after another and gathered in Yanjing from all over the country. If it wasn't for Qin Guang's special identity and his freedom, Old Man Tan actually didn't want to let him leave the special training camp at all. He wanted nothing more than to lock him inside and squeeze out his usefulness to the extreme. Now that he was very enthusiastic about this matter, Old Man Tan of course fully cooperated. Chapter 563. The back seat of the car was quite spacious. It was a specially reinforced armored MPV. According to Qian Ming's bragging, the car's glass could withstand a sniper rifle. The overall structure of the car could even protect the lives of the passengers in the back under the bombardment of an RPG. It was Qin Guang's first time sitting in such a high-end car. He felt like he had become a master if he wasn't careful. There was a flaw. The car couldn't fly. It would take another 4 hours to get from here to the Shun's special training camp. In fact, Qin Guang wanted to say, "Since I'm your chief instructor, why didn't you send a helicopter to pick me up?" However, he wasn't that thick-skinned and kept the words in his heart. "Blackie, is there Wi-Fi in the car?" He had been using the lousy script of women every day to pass the time. Qin Guang treated it as a novel and had almost memorized it. He could even recite the lines of the other people, let alone his own supporting role. He couldn't stand it anymore, so he turned his attention to the laptop that he hadn't used for 2 days. Blackie replied quickly, "Yes, sir. The dedicated military 4G network is 3 times faster than the ordinary civilian network. It has low latency and is more stable. Most importantly, it's free." "Can we play Dota?" Qin Guang opened his backpack and took out his laptop. He was delighted. Blackie said loudly again, "Yes. We can play both. Yesterday, when we were waiting for someone, I played with Captain Chen. However, we played League of Legends. Both games should have similar network requirements, right?" Qian Ming, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, coughed violently. F***ck, this Blackie was too much. How could he say that? "Captain Qian, is your throat not feeling well?" Blackie was confused. Qian Ming rolled his eyes. "No, my heart hurts." Blackie asked again, "Was it because you were angered by a primary school student when you lost 3 times in a row in ranked yesterday? Can we not talk about League of Legends?" If this guy wasn't driving, Qian Ming would have strangled him to death. Blackie said, "Okay, Instructor Chen, why did you think of shaving your head? Which family did you shave it from? It's so clean. I can't even see a single strand of hair. It's just like the tea eggs in my hometown." Qin Guang, who was trying to pull his laptop out, spat out a mouthful of blood. "Alright Hazy, you should focus on driving. Don't talk so much." Blackie looked very wronged. He didn't know what he had said wrong. Qian Ming let out a long sigh of relief. If he allowed this guy to continue talking, he would probably spill the beans about him falling into a manure pit during his mission a few days ago. "By the way, Instructor Chen, I have something very interesting to tell you. A few days ago, when Captain Qian and I were arresting people in the eastern suburbs of Beijing, shut the F***ck up. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak." Qian Ming broke down. While the two of them were having fun, Qin Guang didn't have time to deal with them. It turned out that when he pulled out the laptop, a blue-covered booklet was brought out along with the laptop. Holding the fingernail-thick booklet in his hand, Qin Guang was puzzled. What book was this? When did I buy it? Why don't I have any impression of it? Gently stroking the cover, a unique fragrance of ancient books wafted out from the booklet. There wasn't a single word on the cover. When he flipped to the first page, 3 engraved and printed Wei Bei characters before the Republic of China appeared in front of him. Although the characters seemed to be a little diffuse because of the long time, it still gave off a kind of domineering aura. Painting manual? What the hell? Although he didn't know much about the domestic market for ancient books, even if he used his toes to think, this book definitely wouldn't be cheap. Just as he was about to continue flipping, a small colored card fell out from the seam of the book. On the front of the card was a very unique and indecent photo. Next to it was written, "The passionate little sister will take you to fly if you are satisfied. Please call 13XX. Qin Guang was shocked. Could it be that the little sister who gave the card was a hidden Jianghu expert? But when he flipped to the back, he saw Wenwen's handwriting. It was personally written by her. This is the copy of my Wen family's painting manual. It is also the Wen family's strongest secret. You can take it and practice it. After you master it, we will be the eagle hero couple. Yes, I am the hero and you are the companion." But Qin Guang secretly spat. "Brother, I am so masculine, so I must be the hero. You are more likely to be blind." Unknowingly, the 2 words Qin Yu appeared in his mind again. Forget it, let's not talk about it. Since this was a small booklet given by Wenwen, it must be very important. I can't take it lightly. Sure enough, the night before yesterday, I did that to her. Of course. Well, I was the one who did that to her. If I remember correctly, she once said that I have to be her man, which means that I have to marry her in order to practice her Wen family's internal strength. Now, without saying anything, you put the secret book in front of me. This can only mean that the rice was cooked the day before yesterday. You still lied to me that nothing happened. I don't believe you even if you tell me. When I woke up, I felt that I had lost a lot of weight. I almost got away with it because of you." Qin Guang wasn't very clear about how big the Wen family was and what kind of power it had. But from the few words that Xan Qin revealed, if an ordinary person married the daughter of the Wen family, it meant that he would marry into the family. For a son-in-law who married into the family, would this kind of martial arts aristocratic family unreservedly hand over the strongest secret book that their eldest miss cultivated? This obviously wouldn't happen. But Wenwen just straightforwardly and neatly put her own secret book in his hands. That's right. It must be because her situation is particularly critical. She needs the most powerful gay friend to quickly grow stronger and then form the divine eagle couple that she talked about. Together, they will kill until the world is turned upside down. This person, Qin Guang, will not pass on this responsibility. Qin Guang took a deep breath. Since this was a peerless divine skill that the old man exchanged for by selling his body and soul, then he must take a deep breath and adjust his state of mind. Then he must treat it seriously as if he was on a pilgrimage. He no longer joked around with Qian Ming and Haizi. Throwing the notebook to the side, Qin Guang leaned against the back seat and seriously studied it word by word. The Wen family's Danqing scroll wasn't obscure. Although it was written in the ancient style of classical Chinese, as a university student of the new era, Lord Guang, who had studied from poetry to spring snow in Qinyuan in high school, could basically understand the meaning. Rather than calling this book a secret book, it would be better to say that it was a simple instruction manual for bodybuilding methods in classical Chinese. It was merely the work of the ancients, and after a long period of improvement and practice, it had become a systematic method that could cultivate inner strength. About 3 hours later, he finally memorized this thin booklet word by word. He could already vaguely see the dense forest in front of him. They were almost at the special training camp. Qin Guang closed the book and silently stuffed it into his inner pocket, feeling vaguely melancholy. This secret book was too damn deceptive. The Danqing scroll was divided into 2 volumes. The first volume tempered the body with external skills, while the second volume stimulated inner strength. According to the Danqing scroll, the Wen family's martial arts focused on external to internal. It was naturally best to start building the foundation when one was a child. When one's body and bones had just begun to grow, that was when one was 5 or 6 years old, one would start following the tempering method recorded in the external skills volume. One would train hard every day, regardless of whether it was windy or rainy. Apart from this, One also had to supplement it with various medicinal soups refined from various precious herbs. While tempering one's muscles, bones, skin, and flesh, one would persevere in soaking the medicine. When one's bodily functions were exhausted to the extreme, one's muscles, bones, skin, and flesh would also turn into sponges, absorbing the various nourishing substances in the medicine. While soaking the medicine, one would also rest. After soaking in the medicine, one would get up to take medicine. After taking the medicine, one's body would be more or less rested, so one would continue to train hard while exhausting one's stamina to temper the body and absorb the medicine. Then, one would continue soaking in the medicine, repeating this process 3 times a day. It was similar to the process when Chen Guang practiced the Kirin arm, but it was more complicated. Through this continuous tempering, one's bodily functions would be trained to the extreme to expand the body's adaptability. It didn't necessarily require much strength, but the quality of the muscles, bones, skin, and flesh could reach the peak of an ordinary person through such daily hard training, until one could reach the requirements of cultivating inner strength. Perhaps each family's cultivation methods were different, the external skills used to temper the body were different, the medicines used were different, and the requirements for cultivating inner strength were also different. Chen Guang didn't have a reference. However, it was written in the painting volume that if a child was at the age of rapid growth, the body would take at least half a year to 2 years to lay the foundation of external force, which was around 6 years old or 7 or 8 years old. Basically, people with some talent would be able to reach the standard and start to stimulate their internal force. After that, they would be able to practice external force while meditating to improve their internal force. However, if the same thing were to happen to an adult, especially after the age of 18, because the body's bones had fully developed, the difficulty of improving the foundation of one's body would increase exponentially. This so-called foundation was not as simple as having a few more muscles after working out, but the evolution and perfection of the most basic cell level from the muscles, bones, skin, and flesh. What made Chen Guang depressed was that the same external skills to lay the foundation, children only needed half a year to 2 years, but adults needed at least 10 years. This meant that if he wanted to cultivate this Danqing scroll, he had to practice external skills as soon as he woke up, soak in a medicinal bath after practicing external skills, and then continue to practice external skills after soaking in the medicinal bath. He couldn't do anything else, and this cycle would take at least 10 years. He also had to take the risk of not being able to master it. After all, even among the children in the Wen family, not everyone could cultivate inner strength. The difference was only in the talent limit of the muscles, bones, skin, and flesh, which was commonly known as the root bone. Without the root bone, it would be a waste to practice. However, it was fine for a child to do nothing for 2 years, but for an adult to gamble for more than 10 years, it was a little crazy. Chen Guang suddenly felt that when Wenwen gave him this scroll, it was not like she was inviting him to be in the legend of the Condor heroes with her. She simply felt that he was annoying and threw a big picture in front of him, tricking him to plunge into learning inner strength, so that he wouldn't be a burden to her. Although she didn't say it clearly, this was the meaning. Calculating, Wenwen had cultivated inner strength for at least 12 years to reach her current level. If he started practicing now, he would be like the old man with extraordinary talent. After 10 years, he would be able to stimulate the inner strength, and then he would practice for another 10 years to reach the level before she broke through, which was the realm she showed in school. After 20 years, if something went wrong and she lost to someone else, the grass on her grave would be almost 3 feet high, right? He didn't know why, but when he thought of this situation, he felt completely unable to lift his spirits. He entered the Shun special training camp with a melancholy mood. The second batch of military elites that Tan Zhaohua had gathered had not yet arrived. At present, only 500 people had arrived, and the remaining 500 people would arrive one after another in the afternoon. Chen Guang was not in a hurry to go and only asked them to continue gathering. He ran to the officer's dormitory that Old Man Tan had deliberately arranged for him, sat down, and took out his cell phone to call Wenwen. "Big sister, your painting scroll is a bit of a scam." "How is it a scam?" "This is my family's unique skill. I have now become a literary grandmaster, which is enough to override the family rules to a certain extent. That's why I have the courage to give it to you. Otherwise, if I make such a mistake, I will be skinned, stripped of my merit, and imprisoned. Then I really thank you for your great kindness. By the way, when did you cultivate inner strength? 6.5 years. Why? I only practiced outer strength for 2 months, and inner strength emerged on its own. I didn't even deliberately meditate, it was very easy. Do your best, I'm optimistic about you. With my current great scholar level vision, you're definitely a martial arts prodigy that's rarely seen in 1,000 years. When have I ever lied to you? Work harder, and in the future, you can be like me. You don't have to worry about the medicinal herbs, I have already arranged for someone to send them to you. They will arrive in Wujing in a few days. When the time comes, you can just go and take as much as you need. But you have to be careful, once you start, you can't stop. Wen simply said that practicing martial arts was like cabbage. Chen Guang wanted to rush in front of her and strangle her to death. Did she really think that a 3-year-old child like him was so easily fooled? Do you know what inner strength feels like? Once you master it, you will feel as light as a swallow with every movement. When inner strength is exerted, the muscles in your body will have an extra force out of thin air. Not to mention now, when I was still in school, you have never seen me use real martial arts. When you saw my strength in school, it was not even 1/10 of my true level. Don't you want to be like me, to be able to easily bend our school's iron flagpole with one palm? Well, I remember there was a flagpole that bent before the flag-raising ceremony in my freshman year. At that time, the school investigated for a long time, but they couldn't find the cause. In the end, it was you? Hee hee, I didn't think much at that time, I just wanted to try it out. How is it? Envious, right? I'm quite envious. Chen Guang couldn't say anything against his heart. Wen tempted him again, so, you should start practicing now. But the painting scroll said that it takes an adult 10 years to train their muscles, bones, and skin. 10 years, how can I stand it? Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Wen laughed, hey! Those are all conclusions that my ancestors concluded based on ordinary people's experience, and it may not be completely correct. For a peerless genius like you, it may not necessarily count. In my opinion, if it's you, at most 2 to 3 years, you can steadily stimulate inner strength. If you don't succeed by then, I will double repair it with you. Chapter 564. Bah, you didn't do dual cultivation the day before yesterday? No, I really didn't. Absolutely not. Wen lied with her eyes wide open. Seeing that he couldn't hear any truth from her, this good friend was obviously following the principle of not paying with his life if he didn't cheat others. She kept bragging about how awesome inner force was and how easy it was to cultivate it. She was just waiting for him to fall into her trap. Chen Guang held it in for a long time and sent out a sentence, I really don't believe you. He hung up the phone. After waiting for a while, Wen sent another text message, come on. I'm waiting for you. On the other side, Wen was holding her phone and laughing. Of course, she knew that Chen Guang had already found out that the painting scroll was a trap. However, she wasn't worried that Chen Guang wouldn't learn it. After all, she knew how much Chen Guang wanted to learn inner strength not long after the two of them got to know each other. Now that such a heaven-sent opportunity was placed before him, Wen knew that it was impossible for him to resist the temptation. After all, he was a humble and upright person. Although practicing martial arts was difficult, as long as there was a chance, who would be willing to let go of such a chance to become a different person? There were many legends about inner force, qigong, inner force, or other names among the people, but there were very few people who had actually seen it. Even if there were real rumors, people often scoffed at them and didn't take them seriously. They just thought that it was a swindling Jianghu swindler who used the name of a so-called master to cheat others of money, or even to cheat money and women. In recent years, the internet and even TV often exposed a certain master as a swindler, but there had never been a real person with unique skills who stood in front of the stage. Although inner force martial artists didn't completely hide from the world, in the eyes of ordinary people, It was gradually becoming more and more like a fantasy. But even so, in the land of China where martial arts culture flourished, there were always people who were fascinated by the legendary inner force martial arts after reading novels that told about the heroic stories of China. If there was really a chance to learn inner force in front of ordinary people, who could be calm? You're just being stubborn. I really don't believe that you don't want to try. Eldest miss, everyone in the family has been summoned back. Everyone is waiting in the conference hall. What do you think? At this moment, someone knocked on her door from the outside. A shadowy figure stood outside the door and spoke in a servant's tone. The smile on Wenwen's face disappeared in an instant. She slowly got up and grabbed the black chop that was lying on the side of the table. She walked towards the door. Don't call me miss, call me patriarch. He pushed open the door. The moment the wooden door opened, the backyard of the Wen family suddenly lit up with a snowy light. Several dozen figures dressed in the clothes of the Wen family servants jumped out from various places. These people were at least above bone strength. Among them, there were 7 or 8 masters of skin strength. They waved the weapons in their hands at the same time and surrounded Wenwen from all directions. As for the servant who knocked on the door, he eerily extended a pitch-black dagger from his palm and stabbed it towards Wenwen's heart. Faced with this sudden turn of events, Wenwen's expression did not change. She only said indifferently, Uncle Zhong, you've been in the Wen family for more than 30 years. You watched me grow up. Even you betrayed the Wen family. I'm really disappointed. As she spoke, she held the black chop in her hand and held it horizontally. Uncle Zhong's dagger pierced the black chop's scabbard. Uncle Zhong snorted. You still have the face to be disappointed in me? I'm even more disappointed in you and your useless father. How prestigious was the Wen family in the past? Now it has become like this. I, Zhong Dingyu, am loyal to the Wen family but not to you, Wen Jingtian and your daughter. Instead of letting the Wen family rot in the hands of your stubborn father, why don't you let Jingyun manage it? In my opinion, Jingyun is smart and talented. With him managing the family, the Wen family will definitely return to its peak in less than 10 years. At the very least, it won't lose to the Poison sect or the Dark sect. What a joke! Those short-sighted people from the Poison sect and the Dark sect only have some wealth in the secular world. Have they ever produced any top-notch experts? How can they be compared to the Wen family? Since ancient times, the Wen family has always been passed down. The eldest son is the leader and this has never changed. Third uncle, you're not the eldest son and you're not of the Wen family's bloodline. How can you be in charge of the Wen family? What? Jingyun isn't of the Wen family's bloodline? Ridiculous. You're spouting nonsense. Uncle Zhong's face turned pale. Then he gritted his teeth and roared, Die. As soon as Uncle Zhong finished speaking, the dagger on Wenwen's scabbard suddenly pushed forward. You didn't expect this, did you? Actually, I had already broken through skin force with Jingyun's help 2 years ago. Wen, you're underestimating your enemy. A moment later, he stood rooted to the ground with a flushed face. He could not move an inch forward. No matter how much force he used, the dagger seemed to be stuck to Wenwen's scabbard and could not move at all. This could only mean that Wenwen's inner force was a realm higher than his. She was able to penetrate through the black/saber's scabbard and completely stop his dagger. How is this possible? Uncle Zhong realized something. His face turned pale and he stared at Wenwen in disbelief. At that moment, the other martial artists who had surrounded them had already pounced on them when they saw that Zhong Dingyu was about to kill them. Wenwen closed her eyes slightly. When she opened them again, she was looking at these people with pity. Among them were real servants of the Wen family. There were also spies and spies from the outside. There were even some descendants of the Wen family's side branches. Although they also had the surname Wen, they were not related to Wenwen by blood. Uncle Zhong, you've been abandoned. That's right, I'm already a thought grandmaster. Third uncle has already died by my hands. I thought that you would have received the news long ago, so I wanted to give you a chance to turn over a new leaf. As long as you're willing to repent, I can pretend that nothing has happened. But from the looks of it, I can't do that. As the saying goes, a warrior cuts his wrist. Since your wrist has been cut, there's no need for me to keep you alive. Wenwen lightly shook the scabbard and sent Zhong Dingyu flying. She slowly pulled out her saber and unsheathed the black-saber, leaving no one alive. 10 minutes later, when Wen, dressed in blood-stained clothes, stood at the entrance of the Wen family's front courtyard's conference room. She helped her father, Wen Jingtian, down from the clan leader's iron chair. In this critical time of life and death, with internal and external troubles, Wen officially took over the Wen family as the first Wen grandmaster in 100 years. Hundreds of miles away, Chen Guang sat in the officers' quarters in a daze. He was extremely annoyed. How many decades do people have in their lives? You want me to spend 10 years in here? How is that possible? This isn't the free time in the world in the cup. Wait, world in the cup? He slapped his forehead. Am I stupid? Old man, there's a shortcut. Tempering the body with the methods in the painting scroll is training. Isn't the world in the cup of the heavenly Holy Grail also training? The painting scroll can only make the body of an ordinary person approach the human limit. My world in the cup is aiming to surpass the limit, okay? It's obvious that my methods are deeper, more powerful, and faster. Why should I care about this 10 years of tempering? Or should I stick to the original plan and mass-produce the world in the Spirit Heaven Cup and forge myself into a perfect state from head to toe, far surpassing the basic requirements of the painting scroll to stimulate inner strength? Anyway, isn't it the same? At worst, I'll just follow the methods recorded in the world in the cup to temper my muscles, bones, skin, and flesh. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it made sense. The melancholy from before was thrown far away in the blink of an eye. He just minded his own business and started to fiddle with the methods described in the painting scroll. The guards outside could only hear banging sounds coming from the dormitory. They didn't know what Chief Instructor Chen was busy with. About an hour later, a faint cracking sound came from inside, followed by Chief Instructor Chen's low cries. Inside, Chen Guang was lying on the bed in a very awkward posture. He was sweating profusely, his face pale, and panting heavily. Oh my God, I sprained my waist. The Qilin arm was indeed useful. At first, he followed the postures recorded in the painting scroll and relied on the power of the Qilin arm to do all kinds of cool and challenging postures to speed up his progress. He completely forgot that all his skills were in the Qilin arm. The other parts of his body were only slightly above the standard of an ordinary person. He could fight, but he was still far from the human limit. He courted death so much and finally got his retribution. Now he sprained his waist on the bed and couldn't move. The pain was unbearable, but he got what he asked for. Hey, is there anyone outside? He couldn't move at all. He could only call for help. The two guards who were sent to help him were flustered. One of them put his face near the window and said, "Sir, I'm here. I sprained my waist. Call the doctor for me." About 15 minutes later, the professional doctor of Shun's special training camp arrived quickly. The two guards kicked the door open. The doctor exclaimed as soon as he entered the room, "Instructor Chen, what's this posture? Local specialty yoga? Can't you stop talking nonsense? Can't you see my cold sweat has soaked the quilt? There's a special training class in the afternoon. Help me straighten my bones." Crack. Crack. So King painful. Crack. It hurt so much. Finally, after the experienced doctor was exhausted and sweating, Chen Guang's local specialty yoga posture saved him. "Instructor Chen, although you're young, your body has been shaped. Don't learn the awkward posture of an acrobat. You're lucky today. I treat people's injuries every day in this special training camp. I've seen all kinds of strange moves. That's why I could save you so quickly. If you were in another place, even if it's a big hospital like Concord Hospital, you wouldn't have cried for more than half a day." The doctor wiped the sweat off his forehead and said angrily. Chen Guang just giggled. "I remember. I really remember. Once bitten, twice shy." Although he was used to courting death, how could he repeat the same mistake again? Even Tan Zhaohua was alarmed by such a change. The guards came when they kicked the door open and saw everything from beginning to end. But he didn't rush to say anything. Instead, he waited for the others to leave before he pulled Chen Guang and asked mysteriously, "Xiao Chen, where did you learn this move? Can you promote it?" Chen Guang stared at him. This guy is so despicable. Does he really think of himself as a little monster that can drop treasures just by hitting? Do you really want to learn it? Of course, I'm old and can't learn it, but our soldiers are still young. Then you'd better remember this. You must be careful. This was taught to me by a Daoist when I was traveling in Zhongnan Mountains a few days ago. He paid me 668 for this small book. Almost all the people outside are here. Shall we start the special dart training now? But you have to reimburse me for the 668. I'll reimburse you for the money, but I don't want the book. I can't afford to lose face. Chapter 565. Actually, Tan Zhaohua and Qin Guang had a tacit understanding as to whether or not Qin Guang's posture had any meaning behind it. Even if fake Daoist priest was selling fake techniques to swindle money, there was no way he would write such a strange posture in a fake secret manual that normal people couldn't do. Otherwise, people would die easily, and the 668 yuan manual wouldn't even be enough to cover his expenses. However, Tan Zhaohua could tell from Qin Guang's jesting that this thing couldn't be leaked. The two seemed to be joking, but in reality, they were giving each other a way out. Tan Zhaohua was also sure that Qin Guang's original suspicion of having connections with internal force was now confirmed. Qin Guang also used this to achieve another goal. From Tsing Yongtai, he felt that some of the people in power looked down on and belittled him. This time, he came back to increase the training quota for Shun's special training zone, not only to obtain more faith, but also to increase his importance in another aspect. He wanted Tan Zhaohua to see more of his abilities, and he had to use old Tan's mouth to let more people know that he was important. The two's tacit teasing resolved the awkwardness of one wanting to obtain the secret of internal force, and the other not wanting to spread it. Both of them had achieved what they wanted to achieve. This was the philosophy of life of Tan Zhaohua, the cunning old monster, and another old monster who had the face of a young man and the mentality of a young man, but had actually been fighting somewhere for more than 100 years. It was simple and easy to use, but highly effective. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon that day, 1,000 Special Forces soldiers from the Yanjing military received a particularly profound lesson in Shun's special training camp with great anticipation and nervousness. Chen Guang did the same thing as before, and 6 more followers who had mastered the shrinking dart technique showed up. 2 hours later, he gained another 2 followers, and among this group of people, there could be more followers who could produce more than 100 points of faith. Other than that, even if the others were unable to learn it, they could still produce more than 2,000 faith points in total. Today, Chen Guang could be considered to have made a killing. After finishing this, Chen Guang had dinner with the particularly enthusiastic old man Tan. Originally, he planned to go to the special police training area with the excuse of strengthening the training and catch up with Wu Tong. However, when he heard that Wu Tong was sent outside to participate in a secret mission that was close to the special training graduation exam, he changed his mind at the last minute. He stood the police training area up and went back to his dorm to take out his computer. After hesitating for a long time, he finally decided to call his dad. In fact, he had talked to Wenwen before and asked her if there was a need to make everyone close to him more vigilant. However, Wenwen said that it was not necessary. The reason was very simple. If the other party really wanted to attack an ordinary family, it would be useless even if they ran to the ends of the earth, and it would be impossible to guard against it. Now, she was already at the level of Wenzong. Once a martial artist reached this level, they would be at the top of the pyramid in Jianghu. Even if there were masters at the same level as her, they wouldn't dare to say that they could defeat her, who had the Wen family's verdant red scroll. Before she determined the winner between herself and the other party wouldn't dare to attack the family of an outsider like Chen Guang. Moreover, Chen Guang's identity in the secular world was special enough. He was the grandson-in-law of the Jin family. If the other party harmed his family, it would be a taboo in Jianghu, and it would also affect the tacit understanding between Jianghu and the court. Killing in Jianghu was, after all, just a small conflict within one's own. But touching the son-in-law of a powerful political family in the outside world was almost equivalent to shedding all pretense of cordiality. Although Jianghu was strong, there was still a tacit understanding between the court and the court. This was also the reason why those inner-strength martial artists had only left a mark on many big shots over 10 years ago, but hadn't really killed anyone. Chen Guang had become the grandson-in-law of the Jin family by a freak combination of factors. On another level, he had really become his protective talisman. This was something that Jin Shirui hadn't thought of, and no one had thought of. Chen Guang only realized it when Wenwen revealed the truth and analyzed the pros and cons. He was embarrassed. He owed more and more favors and owed more and more. He stayed in the Shun special training camp for 5 days. During these 5 days, he would receive a fixed group of new students from all over the country almost every day. He would receive military elites 6 times and police elites twice. Among them, he had trained nearly 30 dart-throwing disciples one after another. The average daily income of the ordinary students added up was also quite a lot. He had gained quite a lot. He heard that Old Man Tan was interested in separating the nearly 40 people who had mastered the special skill of darts to form a real top special forces team. These things weren't what Chen Guang was concerned about. He was having a headache because of another sudden discovery. What a scam. Lord Lu Li, I always thought I had a deep understanding of how unreliable you were, but only now do I realize that I was still too naive. Why didn't you say so earlier? Why didn't you tell me such an important thing earlier? Squatting under the giant Deerming flower in the world in the cup, Chen Guang wished he could smoke a cigarette to burn off his melancholy. It turned out that just now, his Dart Cup's production of faith had stopped at a very meaningful number after 5 consecutive days of skyrocketing. There were clearly more than 1,000 people below the stage who had just received his special training, and there were also 2 believers who could provide the greenish-gray halo of faith value threads, but the total production of faith value was stuck there and not moving at all. This subtle number was the daily production of 44,444. After realizing that the situation wasn't right, Chen Guang immediately entered the world in the cup after the training session ended. Lu Li then told him, "Congratulations on discovering a new continent." That's right, after the completion of the Spirit's celestial cup, the production of faith was indeed limited. After that, it was the scene of Chen Guang facing Azure's roaring emperor. Lu Li chuckled, "Didn't I do this to give you a surprise?" The surprise, but no joy. Chen Guang couldn't help but be furious. He had been complacently planning to rely on the special course of darts to reach the heavens in a single step, but this earth-shattering feat had just taken a step forward. How could he not be annoyed? "Didn't I give you a hint earlier?" "When?" "A few days ago, when you wanted to rape Fei Fei about this. Didn't I chuckle at you?" "That's called a hint." "What else?" "Do you really think that you can rely on a mere Spirit Celestial Cup to reach the heavens in a single step? Is there such a good thing? The Heavenly Sage Grail has a total of 9 heavens, and the Spirit Celestial Prodigy has just started. Their level is extremely low, and this world in the cup can't even be called a complete small world. The amount of faith it can hold is not much to begin with. At first, I thought that 40,000 would be the limit, but now it has stopped at 44,444. Although this number isn't very auspicious, it is already outside of my expectations. I really have to congratulate you." It was rare for Lu Li to explain so patiently. Chen Guang's heart gradually calmed down. She was right. "Sai, since you already knew, you should have told me earlier. Why are you trying to hide it from me? Use your mortal brain and think about it. Even someone in the 8th heaven of the Sea of Time will have 3 souls and 7 spirits incomplete. A mere Spirit Celestial Cup's world in the 1st level has already shrunk to such a state, and you still want to unleash its limitless power? You already know that I am immortal. Ordinary people would be greedy and insatiable, right? You also know that you are insatiable? Furthermore, if I tell you in advance, won't I just disappoint you 2 days in advance? What difference does it make if you know now?" Chen Guang glared at her. "You are the one in the right, I can't argue with you." but you are the one who guided me on my glorious path of defying the heavens. You can't just watch me struggle like this, can you? You have to do something to make up for my wounded heart, right? Recently, I really want to learn inner strength, but I always feel that it is a little embarrassing to have to learn mortal martial arts while guarding such a huge treasury of yours. Why don't you teach me an unparalleled divine technique that can repel gods and demons? Don't even think about it. Didn't you see that I even lost the lustrous feather robe for you? This was my favorite divine robe in the god realm. Do you know how many existences below the god emperor realm spent hundreds of millions of years to forge this divine robe? How many gods had their divine souls shattered because of this? Furthermore, you have only cultivated the heavenly sage grail to the second level, and you want to learn the techniques of gods? The godly power that comes out from my spit can also cause you to explode, alright? Your robe was obviously eaten by that flower. Why are you blaming me? Don't you see that I am even more miserable? My body, hair, and skin are all given by my parents. It is a sin to lose even an inch of skin. Now, I can even accept the miserable situation of being bald. What is a mere lustrous feather robe to me? Just as the two were chatting, suddenly, Qin Guang and Liu Li froze at the same time. It turned out that the faith value of the dark cup, which originally stopped at 44,444 units per day, suddenly increased a little and became 44,445 units. What's going on? Liu Li looked confused. You don't know anything again. Chen Guang pointed at Liu Li's nose. Can you be a little more responsible? You're always like this. It makes me feel that my future is bleak and bleak. At this moment, Lu Minghua, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. I just grew a fresh tender leaf. Maybe it has something to do with this? Liu Li clapped her hands. That's the logic. Little wimp, let me tell you, the limit of your dark cup's world was originally 40,000, but this empress planned ahead and summoned Deer Cry ahead of time. After a series of ingenious strategizing, I let the lively little deer replace your divine statue. Now, it is precisely because of the growth attribute of her plant characteristics and the profound connection she maintains with your dark cup's world. As long as her strength slowly recovers and strengthens, your dark cup's world of the lowest level will also obtain the potential to grow along with her. How is it? Does this empress's meticulous planning still enter your eyes? Chen Guang, Lu Ming. Chen Guang and Lu Ming simultaneously recalled Liu Li's completely dumbfounded expression when that unfortunate incident happened that day. Especially Lu Ming, who knew that Liu Li's divine soul had been integrated into the Holy Grail, was the one who suffered the most. Now, she actually had the face to say that she had a meticulous planning. Even in the endless God realm, this ability to shamelessly lie with her eyes wide open was almost unparalleled. Sister Liu Li, after all these years, your divine power hasn't improved at all. However, your shamelessness has broadened my horizons. Lu Ming really couldn't hold it in. Chen Guang also covered his face and looked like he was ashamed to be associated with her. Lord Liu Li, you really don't have to flatter yourself like this. I already roughly know that you're a good for nothing. For a moment, she was actually looked down upon by two people at the same time. Liu Li was really extremely embarrassed. She felt that she needed to do something to restore her image in Qin Guang's heart that was about to collapse. Her eyeballs rolled around and she carefully waited. Then, rather reluctantly, she thought about the tycoon computer that she had placed in the center of Cloud City and made a shocking decision. Are you looking down on me? She glared fiercely at Chen Guang and asked. Chen Guang shook his head. There's no such thing. This lowly one can look down on anyone but you. You're a dignified God Emperor, the greatest existence below the Master God in the endless God realm. Among the many God Emperors in the endless God realm, you're also the strongest God Emperor who ranks at the top. Whoever dares to blaspheme your dignity, as your savior, I will not live under the same sky with them. I will definitely tear them to pieces. Liu Li really couldn't say a word for a long time. Clearly, every word that this guy said was so pleasant to listen to, but when it came to her ears, it just sounded so strange. You, Lord Liu Li, you're responsible for meticulous planning. This lowly one is responsible for charging and breaking through the enemy lines. Shut up. Am I not sincere? Shut up. Don't you want to learn inner strength? This old lady will help you. Lily finally said this sentence. Chen Guang immediately sat cross-legged and meditated. Come, please enlighten me. Enlighten your face. You're just a mortal now, so don't even think about this old lady's divine power. Right now, this emperor is also trapped in the Holy Grail and can't even protect myself, so how can I impart any power to you? You don't need this emperor's power imparting either. In the future, you'll understand. It's just that it's not time yet. Liuli slapped his head. Qin Guang was shocked. What? Could it be that the old man has a divine power? I have a question that I've been hiding in my heart for a long time. Quickly tell me, am I the reincarnation of some super expert? Was I at least a god emperor in my previous life? Liuli said, I feel that I'm almost unable to communicate with you normally. From now on, you better shut up. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that I won't accidentally strangle you to death. Seeing that Qin Guang had finally become obedient, Liuli rolled her eyes and said, Do you really think that inner strength is like cabbages in this world? This emperor will explain it to you like this. The abilities that can be trained in the middle realm of the heavenly spirit cup are basically focused on the body's functions. To put it simply, most of them are based on the body's most instinctive reactions. Even if you've mastered these skills, you still don't know how to do it. It's just like how you can play the piano but don't know how to compose a song. As for Dota, rather than saying that the realm in the middle realm of the heavenly spirit cup awakened your gaming talent, it's better to say that you have the aptitude for it. It's just that you're naturally mischievous and have never been forced to train hard. The realm in the middle realm of the heavenly spirit cup only allows you to bring out the coordination of your heart, hands, and eyes to the extreme. Playing that game relies more on yourself. However, when you reach the middle realm of the heavenly spirit cup, the skills that you can learn can be combined with a certain degree of thinking ability. For example, you can learn acting skills that you've always wanted to learn but couldn't learn, or the knowledge and skills of composing music. When you advance to the third level, heavenly spirit cup, you can comprehensively improve your thinking ability. For example, the knowledge of doing business. You need to understand people's hearts and have a keen eye to understand the market. You also need to learn how to control the overall situation, know how to use people well, and even more so, you need to have the courage to make decisions and act boldly. You need to become one of the 3 types of merchants that Sister Lu Fei once told you about. However, inner strength involves even more profound mysteries of the human body. It's beyond the level of thinking and the body. If you want to use the Heavenly Spirit Cup's realm in the middle realm of the Heavenly Spirit Cup to practice the Wen family's painting scroll, you need to at least reach the 4th level, Heavenly Spirit Cup. What the hell? The 4th level Heavenly Spirit Cup? Are you King kidding me? Alright, you don't need to say any more. I know that this is a part of my lifetime. Right now, I don't even know when this Heavenly Spirit Cup will end. What's with the 4th level, Heavenly Spirit Cup? I won't say anything else. I'll go to heaven first. After I die of old age, remember to write an epitaph on my grave. I wanted to ascend to heaven but failed, so I ascended to heaven first. I hope that I won't be cheated in my next life. Liuli took a deep breath for a long time before she resisted the urge to beat him up. She gritted her teeth and said word by word, Didn't I just tell you? Help. How do I help? With my life. Don't worry about anything else for now. Just follow your original plan and train your body to perfection, then we'll talk about the next step. You actually dare to look down on me? I'll let you have a taste of what it means to be a super cool one-stop service. After Qin Guang left, Dear Cry asked in bewilderment, Sister Liuli, do we really have to work so hard? Liuli grunted, We have no choice but to do so. He's too good at tossing and turning. If we really let him go against those mortals who have mastered elementary inner strength with his current level, I'm afraid he might really fail miserably. When that time comes, I might not be able to protect him. It's better to let him become stronger first. But, no buts. Before, I indeed didn't have much confidence, but now that a wisp of my soul has integrated into the heavenly Holy Grail, I can just barely give it a try. Alright, good luck. Deer Cry twisted his body and chuckled. Can you say something more auspicious? Do your best, Sister Lioli. After exiting the Cup Realm, Qin Guang originally planned to say goodbye to Old Man Tan. In the past few days, the effects of his special darts training had been getting worse and worse. There were only so many top-notch military experts in the country, and he had already trained thousands of people. The people he found later couldn't keep up with the basic training, and it wasn't easy for them to awaken as believers, so it would be a bit of a waste of time if he continued. Moreover, he was actually quite selfish. It was quite boring to do things that didn't benefit him. Must you really leave? Old Man Tan pulled Qin Guang reluctantly. Chen Guang nodded and said with a solemn expression, "Those of us who comprehend the Tao through darts act bravely and diligently, and the most important thing is fate. We must not stay stagnant for too long. The path of enlightenment is just like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't move forward, you'll fall behind. Last night, I observed the stars and saw that Venus was flickering. This constellation is reminding me that it's time to leave. These few days of accompanying the soldiers day and night is also a blessing in my heart, but for now, our fate has come to an end, and there's nothing I can do about it. There will be a time in the future when we meet again. General Tan, you don't have to feel sentimental." Old Man Tan's hand that was tugging on Qin Guang's sleeve couldn't help but tremble, and he turned his face away. Damn it, what am I feeling sentimental about? This little kid has been acting like a charlatan for too long these few days, and he's almost into it. If Old Man Jean finds out that I've caused his grandson-in-law to end up like this, will he come after me? No, I have to let him recover some of his humanity. Since I have a dinner meeting tonight, why don't I drag him over to meet him? The more Tan Zhaohua thought about it, the more he felt it made sense. He had seen Qin Guang's selfless contribution these days and remembered it in his heart. His impression of this generous young man who didn't ask for anything in return could be said to have improved by leaps and bounds. Old Man Tan only felt that he had done enough for this country, and it could be considered as opening a door to heaven for soldiers to practice extraordinary skills. Although what he taught was only darts, what he and the instructors in the special training camp had learned these days was his extraordinary special training philosophy. Moreover, he was the grandson-in-law of the Jin family, and now was indeed the time to take him to see the world. Presumably, Old Man Jin would also be grateful to him. Tan Zhaohua thought so, and he pulled Qin Guang even more tightly. You can leave if you want, but let's go to Yanjing to have a meal first. Just think of it as me sending you off, okay? Do we need to go to Yanjing just to have a meal? Qin Guang was puzzled. Tan Zhaohua rolled his eyes. Anyway, won't you have to go to the airport in the western suburbs of Yanjing to return to Wujing? It's on the way. Chapter 566. In the face of Old Man Tan's enthusiasm, Qin Guang couldn't resist. All right. General Tan, please don't pull my clothes. I'll go, all right? Even if Qin Guang was beaten to death, he would never imagine the consequences of his decision. Then again, he regretted it roughly 5 hours later. It was rare for him to be in the same bus as Tan Zhaohua. By the time they arrived in Beijing, it was already past 5 in the afternoon. When you go up later, you may see some people that you usually don't see, but you don't have to be too nervous. They have almost heard of your name and have a good impression of you. Relax and act like a young man. Do what you should do and don't be restrained. Before getting off the bus, Tan Zhaohua helped Qin Guang straighten his collar and said, "Actually, I wanted you to come in a military uniform." What happened to the meal? Qin Guang felt like he had been tricked. Tan Zhaohua smiled. It's just a meal. I told you not to be nervous. Just relax. You keep telling me to relax. You're clearly hinting that there are a lot of big shots up there. Qin Guang turned around to leave. He wasn't afraid of big shots, but he was afraid of a specific person. It was Jin Shiyue's grandfather who attacked him after the concert last time. God knows if that old man was up there. Tan Zhaohua was not willing to let him go just like that. He grabbed him tightly and said, "You stinking brat, Don't get me into trouble. Before I came here, I told those old guys that I would bring our little hero here to let everyone know him. Now that you're gone, how am I going to explain it to them? Won't my old bones die from drinking it to death today? Listen to me. You're no longer an outsider. I know you don't like to be controlled by others, but meeting people and leaving an impression won't do you any harm, right? It'll be more convenient for you to do whatever you want in the future. I don't think so. I'm just a commoner. This kind of national affair naturally needs talented young talents to contribute. I won't blindly meddle in it. I'll just live my own simple life. But in the end, he still went up. He really couldn't bear to see Tan Zhaohua so aggrieved at his age. There was another factor that prompted him to make this decision. Tan Zhaohua originally wanted to bring him to the table of a group of old men, but seeing that he refused in every way, he told him the truth. Other than the main hall where the old people gathered, there was also a side hall where the young people sat. When we get there later, if you really don't want to sit with us old men, I'll arrange a seat for you at the young people's table in the side hall. You can come over to say hello and walk around. I heard that old Master Jean hasn't been feeling well for the past 2 days, so I don't think he'll really come. Tan Zhaohua reassured Qin Guang, and he accepted it with a smile. Under the guidance of the guards, the group passed through the garden-like house and went straight inside. Chen Guang was also speechless on the way. With the land price in Yanjing, one could enjoy such a large garden-like hotel? This was very domineering and classy. Yanjing in August was still a bit hot during the day, but at this time of night, the forest path revealed a cool and elegant atmosphere. A few large lotus leaves grew in the roadside pond, and under the reflection of the moonlight, a few thick and colorful shadows were sprinkled on the water surface. It was unknown whether it was the sound of frogs or toads coming from the side of the pond. It wasn't noisy but had a different kind of charm. Under such a quiet and charming scenery, Chen Guang keenly discovered the guards in camouflage in the shadows of a few small trees. The seemingly loose but actually strict security here revealed the tip of the iceberg in front of him. As if sensing the change in Qin Guang's temperament, Tan Zhaohua, who was walking next to him, said quite casually, "2 more steps and we'll be there." He pointed to the orange-tiled roof that vaguely peeked through the gaps in the bushes in front of them. It's rare for the old men to gather together today, so the security work is more serious than usual. Don't mind it. When we arrive, I'll ask the guards to take you to the youth hall. When it's about time, I'll come and call you, or we'll come and say hello. Don't run away in the middle of eating, remember. As the two approached, a group of old men were quietly hiding behind the wooden lattice window and peeking at the intersection. It looked quite funny. What are you looking at? Look at how disrespectful you all are. Don't you feel embarrassed if outsiders see you? An old man was blowing his beard and glaring at the group of people who were leaning against the window. Old Jean, you also have a day where you feel embarrassed? So what if everyone wants to see your grandson-in-law? I think this young man is not bad. He's presentable and not embarrassing. Jiang Yage's grandfather teased. I'm too lazy to talk to you. I just feel that Xiao Tan shouldn't have pulled him over today. My Jean family doesn't have that many rules. Young people are responsible for their own affairs. It's too early to rush to meet him. Who knew that a certain someone rushed out from home to rush to his granddaughter's celebration party a few days ago and caught a cold? Today, he ran over with a runny nose and a gluttonous appetite? What are you after? Old Jiang, do you really have to ruin my show? Both of you, stop talking. Today, I asked Xiao Tan to call Qin Guang over because he's helped us a lot in Shun these days. There are too many people here, so don't let him come over later. Old Jiang, take 2 people to the youth hall and have a drink with him. Say hello and ask the other young people to help out. That's enough. Jiang Yage's grandfather was unhappy. Why? I shouldn't overstep my authority to drink with him. It should be old Jean, right? Isn't that right, everyone? The other old men followed suit and ridiculed old Master Jean. That's right. Old Jean, it's rare for you and your granddaughter to gather in the same courtyard. You have to go and say hello. Otherwise, he might think that you have something against him. Be careful that your granddaughter doesn't like you. Old Master Jean was egged on by everyone. Actually, he was quite tempted too. Alright, I'll go. What's there to be afraid of? I'm not like you guys who like to order the younger generation around. What's the big deal about drinking? He won't be scared if he gets to know me. Alright, then it's settled. We'll go together later, old Jiang said cheerfully. Jiang Yage's grandfather didn't know that the one who should be giving a toast wasn't old Master Jin, but himself. Otherwise, how could he be so smug? Let me tell you guys. That brother of mine is the almighty superhuman Qin Guang on the internet. He's also Jin Shiyue's boyfriend. You guys know him, right? Yes. How could I not know? He's so famous. Hey, you don't say. He's really amazing. At that time, the two pianists were injured. All of us thought that we were done for and that the concert couldn't go on. There were two pianos there, but no one was playing them. There were many pianists accompanying the songs later on. What should we do about the concert? What do you guys think we should do? Lin Jingwei sat at the big round table in the youth hall. He was beaming with joy and looked like a storyteller. The others were also interested in what he said. They were all familiar with each other. Naturally, there were people who supported Lin Jingwei. Brother Jingwei, just say it. Don't leave us hanging halfway. That's right. Brother Jingwei, why are you like the storyteller in the tavern in the TV dramas? Lin Jingwei lightly slapped the table. At that time, my brother Guang stood up and said, I'll do it. A high school girl with braided hair covered her mouth and laughed. Brother Jingwei, look at what you're saying. I thought Uncle Guping said, I'll do it. Don't tell me that your brother Guang is Baldy Wuku? Lin Jingwei stared. What are you saying? Although Brother Guang's name has the word, like, in it, his hair is as lush as the small forest behind the South Sea Court. Let's not talk about his hair. At that time, we all knew that he could play the piano. Very good, the problem of one piano was solved. But there were two pianos on the stage. They needed two pianos to accompany them. One person was not enough. In the end, he still said, I'll do it. And then this guy exploded. He actually played two pianos by himself. He really played them off the stage. Look, I was below the stage at that time and recorded the whole thing. What do you think? Awesome, right? Lin Jingwei took out his phone and sent it to these people one by one. His father had said not to stay at home all day. If word got out, people would gossip and say that old Lin's son was a good-for-nothing. It was fine if he didn't join the military or politics, but if he became a shut-in after studying, it would be a disgrace to the Lin family. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. Although he didn't like this scene, since he was dragged here today, he had to put on a good show. He had to become the center of the conversation at the table. He showed the video of Qin Guang to these people. Actually, it could be considered as laying a foundation for Qin Guang's future. With his face and introduction, everyone present also knew that this Qin Guang and I, Lin Jingwei, have a close relationship. Let's put our relationship aside for now. Who knows when we might be able to help each other in the future? We still have a long life ahead of us. It had to be said that in this aspect, although Lin Jingwei always treated Qin Guang as his boss in the dormitory, he was actually more stable and steady. Everyone watched the video. Actually, some of them had watched the live broadcast of the concert at home and knew that the prince consort of the Jin family was in the limelight that day. However, they still cooperated and put on a look of amazement. The girl who said that Qin Guang was bald, Wu Ku teased, this brother Guang's hair is really lush. He's quite handsome. Oh right, didn't brother Bai say he was coming? Why isn't he here yet? Another person asked Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei shook his head. Just now, he said he still had a meeting at the company. I don't know when he'll be done. Brother Bai isn't as free as we are now. He's the vice president of Tianjin Group. In his heart, he was thinking that it was good that he wasn't coming. Recently, he had been pestering him to the point of breaking down. That good brother of his was obsessed with Qin Yu. Chapter 567. By the way, Secretary Chu just placed an extra chair, bowls, and chopsticks here. Who was it? I didn't hear anyone come back. A young man who was sitting next to Lin Jingwei said unhappily. He was originally sitting next to Lin Jingwei, but because of the extra chair, his seat was forcibly moved to the side. The empty seat on Lin Jingwei's right, which was the seat in the middle of the large round table facing the screen, was reserved for Bai Hua. The old people had their own ways of doing things, and the youngsters also had their own ways of doing things. In China's dining culture, the arrangement of the chairs and seats was quite unique. These youngsters who were born in rich families understood the meaning of it since they were young. Lin Jingwei shook his head in confusion. "I'm not sure." At this moment, the door of the youth hall was pushed open. A familiar voice came from outside the door Lin Jingwei was familiar with. "You're here, right?" "Yes, Instructor Chen. Please come with me. Your seat has been arranged for you." As Secretary Chu spoke, he ushered the person in from the outside. A shiny bald head was the first to enter the youth hall. They felt that the entire room had brightened up with this person's entrance. Lin Jingwei's eyes widened. "Oh my God, Brother Guang, why are you here? Your hairstyle is a bit too domineering." He silently turned his face away, trying hard not to laugh out loud. Damn it, he was just blowing on his beautiful hair. "You really know how to make things difficult for me. When did you become Wuku? Can't you at least give me a greeting?" The high school girl from before was the first to break down. She was obviously a veteran of 2D video sites. She was quite quick-witted and had a rather carefree personality. She slammed the table repeatedly. "Wuku. It's really Wuku." Chen Guang turned his head and glanced at the girl before he awkwardly followed Secretary Chu to sit beside Lin Jingwei. At the same time, he was feeling unhappy in his heart. This girl wasn't giving him any face at all. "Even if my hairstyle is really that ferocious, is there a need for you to slap the table and call me Wuku? Do you think I don't understand that joke? I'm also an old hand, okay? These rich second generations are more unruly and difficult to get along with than I thought." Sure enough, not every second and third generation is as mature and sensible as Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua. No, Bai Hua is poisonous. Lin Jingwei saw that Qin Guang's expression was not very happy. He also realized that this joke might not have come at the right time. "Brother Guang, don't misunderstand. I was just bragging to everyone that you said, 'I'll do it,' before you went to play the piano at the concert. Didn't people think of Wu Ku because of that? You also have the word, light, in your name. I'm really not targeting you." The little girl also laughed. She held her stomach and explained to Qin Guang. Chen Guang saw that she looked quite obedient, so he did not hold it against her. Seeing that he had acquaintances here, Secretary Chu, who originally wanted to help introduce him, tactfully retreated. With Lin Jingwei bringing Qin Guang into the circle, there was nothing for him to do as a secretary. With Lin Jingwei's introduction, Qin Guang greeted these second and third generation people one by one. As for the polite words like, "take care of each other for the first time," he did not take it to heart. Everything else was good, but Chen Guang felt that the young man on his left was a little strange. He said something like, "The matter between Sister Shiriyue and Brother Chen Guang has become a legend in our circle. A gifted scholar with a beautiful woman is really a perfect match. Now that Sister Shiriyue is not big or small in our country, she's almost on the same level as the Heavenly Empress. How does Brother Chen Guang plan to cooperate with Sister Shiriyue in the future?" Although he said gifted scholar with a beautiful woman, he was secretly mocking Chen Guang for relying on Jin Shiriyue to rise to the top. Chen Guang ignored him and turned to ask Lin Jingwei, "What's your relationship with this young man?" This person was stunned. He did not expect Chen Guang to not play by the rules. He was the same as Bai Hua. He was also a child who grew up watching Jin Shiriyue grow up like a porcelain doll. He also had some feelings for her, so he had investigated quite a bit about Chen Guang. Today, he was already unhappy that Chen Guang had stolen his seat. Now, it was as if there was a fish bone stuck in his throat. He planned to use this as an excuse to embarrass Chen Guang a little, to vent the hatred in his heart that his goddess and his seat had been stolen. But Chen Guang's reaction was completely out of his expectations. He could not help but look at Lin Jingwei with some worry. Lin Jingwei first glanced at the young man, then curled his lips indifferently, just as if. Chen Guang was delighted. Since this person wasn't Lin Zi's friend, then there's no need for him to give face. He turned around and smiled at the young man before casually spitting out, "What does it have to do with you?" He had come here today not because he was Jin Shiyue's boyfriend, but because Old Tan had invited him as a guest. Why would he be bullied by a bunch of kids? "I'm sorry, but I can't do that." The young man was shocked by Qin Guang's four-syllable mantra, but Lin Jingwei's cold gaze from time to time gave him goosebumps. He did not dare to flare up and only smiled awkwardly. "Brother Qin Guang, you really know how to joke." Chen Guang did not want to make the atmosphere too tense, so he casually laughed it off. It's all right. After this brief interlude, the main table in the private room next door began to move their chopsticks. Naturally, the youth lounge followed suit. Initially, Chen Guang was worried that his meal would be too boring. Fortunately, Lin Jingwei was right next to him. The two of them chatted as if there was no one else around, so he did not feel embarrassed. It was just that Lin Jingwei's words were not very pleasant to listen to. "Seriously, Brother Guang, are you going to do something big?" Lin Jingwei asked as he picked up the monkey head mushroom with his chopsticks. "Why do you suddenly ask?" Chen Guang felt that the game in front of him was not bad, so he continued to eat it. The ancients always said that by cutting it, one's ambition will be discovered. You cut it so cleanly, aren't you a little too ambitious? Where did you go to cut it? It's too clean. Even the stubble on your scalp is gone. My goodness, I feel that when school starts, we won't need to turn on the lights in our dormitory at night. As Lin Jingwei spoke, he could not help but secretly raise his hand and touch the top of Qin Guang's head. Then, with an intoxicated look on his face, he said, "Oh my God, it feels so good to touch it. I can't control my hand at all. If you touch it again, I'll break all 5 of your fingers, damn it." Liu Li had touched his head when he first became bald, and now little Lin was touching it again. He estimated that he would have to receive many distinguished guests with his bald head, so he might as well expand his business. Touching for 10 yuan, he could make a fortune with this bald head alone. Don't do it. You won't lose a piece of flesh from touching it. Be more generous." Lin Jingwei really could not control his hand. Chen Guang was annoyed by his touch, so he grabbed his disobedient, lecherous hand and smacked it twice on the back of his hand with his silver chopsticks, making little Lin grit his teeth in pain. The others at the table were stunned. Why was Brother Jingwei so easy to talk to today? Lin Jingwei did not feel embarrassed at all. He still stared at Qin Guang's head covetously, but seeing that Qin Guang was on guard, he did not dare to make another move in the end. Lin Jingwei knew that he could no longer pretend to be a pig with a spring onion stuck in his nose on the table today, but he did not care. It was not a problem for him to put on airs in front of others at the table, but he really could not pretend to be a college roommate for 3 years in front of Qin Guang. Of course, if he did not want to make a move on Qin Guang, but if he quietly said hello to Qin Guang and let Qin Guang flatter him today, it would not be a problem for him to sit on the throne of the most mature and stable second generation in the youth hall today. All right, don't embarrass yourself in public. Even if you don't find it embarrassing, I would feel embarrassed. Qin Guang quietly glared at Lin Jingwei. He was an old monster himself, so he could still understand the ways of the world on the table. He did not care, but he could not embarrass Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei chuckled, okay. Then he quietly took out his phone and took a picture of Qin Guang from behind, then sent it to the class group chat. Damn it, this guy is hopeless. Qin Guang rolled his eyes and really did not want to talk to him anymore. He reached his chopsticks into the soup bowl in the middle of the turntable and picked up a large piece of longjing bamboo fungus. He had loved eating bamboo fungus since he was a child, but in the past year, his family was so poor that he could not eat it even if he wanted to. What was placed on the table must be the work of a great chef, so it would be a shame not to take the opportunity to eat it. He was just a little strange. From the time everyone started eating until now, it seemed that no one else had touched the bamboo fungus in the soup bowl. Perhaps these second and third generations were used to eating delicacies and did not take it seriously. When everyone saw his action, they were stunned at first, then they watched him take a large piece of bamboo fungus from the bowl and put it in his bowl to eat. As soon as the bamboo fungus entered his mouth, those who knew immediately knew whether it was good or not. the fresh and sweet fragrance of top-grade Longjing tea wrapped around the crispy and refreshing bamboo fungus. When he gently chewed it, a different kind of sweet and rich fragrance assailed his nose, from the tongue all the way to the back of his throat. Chen Guang slightly narrowed his eyes and thought to himself, "This taste of bamboo fungus seems to be the best quality of Zijin." The last time he had eaten Zijin bamboo fungus, it was when his family was not short of money that his father specially went to his old comrade's place to buy it. It was said that it was specially provided, and the people in the place of origin could not eat it. When he finished eating this large piece of bamboo fungus, he did not think too much about it. Just as he was about to continue eating, the guy sitting on his left coughed lightly. He really did not know what to say. When Chen Guang saw everyone looking at him eagerly, he turned to ask Lin Jingwei, "Is there anything special about this pot of soup?" Lin Jingwei rolled his eyes and laughed, "It's nothing. It's placed on the table for everyone to eat." As he said that, he also picked up a small piece of Longjing bamboo fungus with his chopsticks and put it in his bowl. In his heart he was saying, "Brother Xiaobai, I'm sorry. I originally wanted to leave some for you, but Brother Guang did not know about it. He picked up more than half of it for you. Let's just forget about it later." When the others saw this, they knew that Lin Jingwei was saving the situation. Although they were quite nervous, they each picked up a small piece of bamboo fungus. Before they even walked around, the pot of Longjing bamboo fungus had been cleared. Finally, the high school girl from before said nervously, "Brother Xiaobai spent a lot of effort to get this bamboo fungus. He loves it the most. He didn't even say that he won't be coming tonight and we've already finished it. Wait a while. Cough, cough, cough." Lin Jingwei's throat felt uncomfortable again. "Eat your food. Why are you so troublesome?" "Brother Xiaobai?" Chen Guang was also afraid. "Bai Hua is coming? He left some food for him?" Lin Jingwei had no choice but to nod. "He should be coming. But let's just eat it. It doesn't matter." When everyone saw this, they thought that this Chen Guang was really fearless, but it turned out that he was afraid of Brother Xiaobai. They did not guess wrong. Chen Guang was indeed afraid of Bai Hua, afraid that he would fall in love with him. Chapter 568. He gulped down a few mouthfuls of food at lightning speed, completely forgetting about Old Mintan's instructions. Gently pushing the bowl on the table, Chen Guang patted on Lin Jingwei's shoulder and muttered, "I'm not feeling well, so I'll take my leave first." Other people thought that he had mistakenly eaten Bai Hua's food and felt guilty, but Lin Jingwei knew what was going on. He said, "What if Grandpa Tan comes looking for you later?" Chen Guang shrugged. "I can eat any day. I'm annoyed when I see him. Today's not the right time. It's better to leave first." Lin Jingwei empathized with him. "Sigh. I've been suffering from Brother Bai for the past few days. Why don't I go with you?" Just as the two of them were discussing how to escape, the door of the youth hall was pushed open again. It was Bai Hua. He smiled apologetically and cupped his hands at the people inside. "Everyone, I'm so sorry. Things at the company were really troublesome and I couldn't leave. Thank you for making it." Lin Jingwei and Chen Guang, who were about to get up, looked at each other helplessly. They couldn't leave. Everyone got up and greeted Bai Hua. Among the younger generation, Bai Hua, who entered Cambridge at the age of 16, had an extremely high status. Not only because of his family background, but also because of the potential and strength he showed. Geniuses were respected everywhere, not to mention a genius with a strong background. Bai Hua also walked in and went straight to the middle of the round table. His seat had always been the leader's seat. It had never changed in the past 2 years. He looked up and was about to greet Lin Jingwei, but he saw Chen Guang sitting next to Lin Jingwei with a straight face. Bai Hua's expression froze. He quickly pretended not to see Chen Guang and casually greeted Lin Jingwei. "I heard there were a lot of people here tonight. I almost didn't believe it, but seeing you dressed so well, I knew Secretary Chu wasn't lying." Bai Hua was actually in a good mood. If he had a chance to meet the elders later, he would be able to show off. After being in Tianjin for so long, he finally did something practical. Tonight, after several days of wrangling with the 3 Arabian companies, including changing the language of negotiation, changing the translator, excluding AO Lon Company on the grounds of unfair competition, quietly cutting off the tentacles extended by the other vice president who was trying to set him up, and reintroducing the 3rd company after a series of torturous events, the preliminary negotiations finally began. As the vice president of Tianjin Energy, Bai Hua had a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders. In the eyes of outsiders, he was young and promising. His starting point was so high that it made others envious, but only he knew how he felt. As the young master of the Bai family, sitting in this position, there would always be countless pairs of eyes staring at him. If he made a mistake, not only would he be crushed to pieces, but his career would also be affected. For someone like him, if his career stagnated for a year or 2, he would lose every step, and the height he could reach in the future would be affected. The proud Bai Hua would never allow himself to fail, even if it was just a stain on his career. It was all thanks to Qin Yu that he was able to turn this misfortune into a blessing. During the half-an-hour car ride from the company to here, he didn't think about the negotiations from the afternoon until now. All he could think about was Qin Yu, the international supermodel. She was tall, cold, rational, and talented. She was aggressive at the negotiating table but reasonable. What a perfect model of a strong woman. As a woman, Qin Yu should be an A-. Her chest size should be a fatal flaw, but Bai Hua didn't care about it. After living abroad for so long, he had seen all kinds of supermodels. He didn't like women with big breasts but no brains. Besides, how many of the top supermodels in the world weren't flat-chested? How could he conquer the world with an uneven chest? Most importantly, there had never been a woman who could make my heart beat so fast the first time I met her, and I couldn't breathe. That's right, she must be the one that I've looked back at thousands of times in my previous life in exchange for a passing encounter in this life. Only someone with her talent and temperament can bring out the best in me, Bai Hua. I should be happy that I was born in the modern world. It's not difficult to find someone. As long as I don't give up, sooner or later, I can turn this passing fate into a lifelong marriage. Come on, Bai Hua. He clenched his fists to cheer himself on. With such a mood, Bai Hua sat down and tidied up his napkin while patting Lin Jingwei on his left. He whispered, "Jingwei, do you still remember what happened last time? Today, we're going to talk about the aftermath of that matter. It's almost done. Thanks to your and Qin Yu's help. To be honest, you should pity me. When are you going to help me ask her out again? Don't worry, I won't show any unnecessary affection in front of her. I won't make her feel uncomfortable. Just treat it as an ordinary dinner between friends. Even if the fire in my heart burns even brighter, I will definitely hide it, okay? Didn't you say she wants to start a business? I've been asking people to pay attention to the Industry and Commerce Bureau, but I haven't seen any company registered by the name of Qin Yu." Lin Jingwei nearly spat out the water he was drinking. "Brother Bai, aren't you a bit too much? You even went to the Industry and Commerce Bureau to check on someone? Besides, what the hell are you hiding? I believe in your acting skills, but the problem is that the main character is sitting right next to me. He can hear every word you say clearly. Also, this bastard is pinching my thigh, okay? It hurts. It hurts so much." Lin Jingwei was also miserable. There was a tiger on his left and a wolf on his right. He was like a meat sandwich between the two villains. "Okay, let's not talk about this. I'm starving. Let's eat something to moisten our stomach first," Bai Hua said. He picked up the bowl and went to the Longjing bamboo fungus in the middle of the table. "Let me tell you, this bamboo fungus is the best product grown by Zijin's family. This year's harvest is not good. The whole country's total output is only a few caddies. Most of it was given to me to show filial respect to the elders. Tonight's pot is the last bowl of this year." Then he stirred the pot of soup with his chopsticks for a long time. It was empty. There was not even a single strand of hair. This. Bai Hua was stunned. It really wasn't that he wanted to show off how great he was, but those who were familiar with him all knew how much he loved bamboo fungus. Besides, this pot of soup was provided by him, so it was reasonable to wait for him to arrive before everyone started to divide it. It was enough for everyone to eat a piece and have a taste, but what was the point of this? My bamboo fungus. I didn't even leave a single piece of it. Chen Guang remained silent from beginning to end. He only cared about filling his stomach. In any case, he acted as if it was none of his business. His mind was filled with Bai Hua's words. The fire in his heart was burning. He did not know why, but whenever he thought of those words, his stomach would feel uncomfortable. He had to eat some soup to calm his nerves. Jingwei, what's going on? Bai Hua turned his head and asked Lin Jingwei. He also saw the flickering eyes of the other people at the table. In this situation, asking Lin Jingwei was the most appropriate. Asking someone else would make him seem overbearing. Lin Jingwei coughed lightly. It's all my fault. I didn't think too much and started eating first. I'll take the blame. Lin Jingwei thought with tears in his eyes. If this matter ended here, then although Bai Hua was a little unhappy with today's meal, he would not have any opinion on Lin Jingwei taking the blame. Under normal circumstances, even if Lin Jingwei expressed his stance, no one would expose him. However, there was an exception. It was the nitpicky boy, Xin Yuliang, who had been sitting on the left side of Chen Guang. All the children in the courtyard knew that Bai Hua liked Jin Shiyue. But now, his favorite Longjing bamboo fungus had been snatched away by a nameless internet celebrity, Chen Guang. If he did not stir up trouble, how could he face the fact that he had a crush on Jin Shiyue behind Bai Hua's back for so many years? Even if this would make Lin Jingwei unhappy, as long as he could make Chen Guang and Bai Hua fight, it would be worth it. Shen Yuliang clenched his teeth and made up his mind. It was a pity that he did not know that Bai Hua had a change of heart. Brother Jingwei, isn't this clearly eaten by Chen Guang? Shen Yuliang poked his head out and stared at everyone. Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua's faces stiffened. Everyone at the table felt their hearts tighten. In fact, when Lin Jingwei took the pot, Bai Hua had already guessed it. He had planned to use this opportunity to get out of the situation, but he did not expect Shen Yuliang to say it out loud. Chen Guang saw that he could no longer hide it. He first glanced at Shen Yuliang, who was sitting on his left, and gently put down his chopsticks. I ate it. It tasted pretty good. I only ate one of your dishes. It's not like I know you have a lot of problems. You want me to apologize to you in public? This time, the situation at the table became very interesting. Brother Xiaobai's beloved was snatched away first, and the dish he liked was snatched away on the dining table. It was the same as giving you a slap and then spitting on your face. Something bad was going to happen. Frankly speaking, everyone felt that it was reasonable for Qin Guang to apologize to Bai Hua for such a small matter. But when they thought about the love-rival relationship between the two of them because of Jin Shiyue, it seemed that he could not apologize. Otherwise, it would look like he was admitting defeat in public. This was difficult. Shen Yuliang's words had placed Qin Guang and Bai Hua on the fire. Don't look down on the fact that they're all youngsters. None of them were easy to deal with. Lin Jingwei suppressed his anger and glared fiercely at Shen Yuliang. He quickly explained, Brother Bai, don't be angry. Brother Guang suddenly called Grandpa Tan over today. I don't know what you like. There's no other meaning. Bai Hua looked at Qin Guang and slowly sat down. It's good that you like it. I'll specially make some for you next time. Although everyone could hear the anger in his voice, he actually held it in. Qin Guang also laughed. Thank you, Brother Bai Hua. To tell you the truth, I've loved to eat this since I was a child. Just now, I was excited to see it. I haven't eaten it for almost a year, so I'm craving it. His words also gave Bai Hua an explanation. At this point, it was almost time for the matter to come to an end. Shen Yuliang came again. This time, he finally pulled out a heavy bomb. Chen Guang, you've been running the internet for the past year, right? The income of a driver isn't that good. It's because you can't afford to eat bamboo shoots. What a coincidence. I have some shares in the internet company. Some time ago, I heard that there was a top driver in Wujing who suddenly stopped doing business. I took a look at him. He seems to have the same name and looks as Chen Guang. It's just that he has hair on his ID. He said with a fake smile. But in his heart, he sneered. Didn't you just say it's none of my business? What does it have to do with me where you're at? Speaking of which, some people's luck is really good. They ran the internet and were lucky enough to save Sister Shiyue's life. They even saved themselves from becoming a hot internet celebrity. I'm really envious of them. With these words, he completely shed all pretense of cordiality. Anyway, Qin Guang's love rival, Bai Hua, was here. Xin Yuliang went all out. He pointed out Qin Guang's previous poor identity and ridiculed him for relying on Jin Shiyue to become famous. At the same time, he reminded everyone that brother Bai Hua's sister Shiyue had been snatched away. Lin Jingwei slammed his chopsticks on the table. Xin Yuliang, are you still going to eat today? If not, then get out. Bai Hua's situation was even more awkward. Everyone present knew that he used to care about Jin Shiyue. But now, he really had a change of heart. He had already clearly told Qin Guang that he wished Jin Shiyue to find true happiness. In fact, there was nothing between him and Jin Shiyue. He also didn't want Lin Jingwei to turn around and tell Qin Yu that he still had feelings for Jin Shiyue because there was no such thing. But he knew that Lin Jingwei would definitely do it if he had the chance. But now, if he didn't take a stand, he would lose face again. For a moment, he didn't know whether to go up or down. He was extremely disgusted. He also hated Xin Yuliang, who didn't know what was good for him, but he couldn't directly flip out like Lin Jingwei. Seeing Bai Hua's ashen face, Xin Yuliang thought that his fanning the flames had a miraculous effect. He quickly struck while the iron was hot. Brother Jingwei, what you said isn't right. We're all on the same side. If we eat and drink at the same table, we can say whatever we want. If we can't even talk openly, then why are we sitting here? Our parents want us to keep in touch. Isn't that because they want us to get together often and talk openly? For example, Brother Bai is now the vice president of Tianjin. Brother Jingwei, your environmental protection company is about to make a name for itself. As for me, I'm just doing some investments and becoming an angel. Even Tong Xiaoming, a high school student, started a fashion brand that has gone overseas. By the way, I heard that Xiaoming's company was in the limelight during the Paris Fashion Week, right? Shen Yuliang was talking about the high school girl with braids. Tong Xiaoming nodded awkwardly. It's all right. It's mainly because of my partner, who's shitty, that I'm just basking in the limelight. Then, Qin Guang, you're an internet celebrity now. Don't you think that's a little embarrassing? Brother Bai, don't you think so? We're all doing big things here. How can an internet celebrity be our spokesperson? The more Xin Yuliang spoke, the more arrogant and presumptuous he became. Lin Jingwei's face became uglier and uglier. Bai Hua was also angered. However, Xin Yuliang really thought that he was tagging along with Bai Hua's preferences. What was there to be afraid of? Chen Guang gently put down his chopsticks and turned to look at this guy. Are you done? When Lin Jingwei heard this voice, he felt that it was going to be bad. He knew Chen Guang too well. When he spoke so calmly, it meant that he was about to beat someone up. Usually, if Chen Guang were to start a fight, he would roll up his sleeves and join in without hesitation. However, the situation today was different. The people sitting next to them were many elders, and the ones sitting next to them were their fathers and uncles. If he were to start a fight, all the juniors would be in trouble. Brother Guang, calm down. Calm down. Lin Jingwei didn't think about it and put his hand on Qin Guang's stomach. Damn it. This guy looks skinny with his clothes on, but his stomach is full of iron plate meat. Chen Guang gently pushed Lin Jingwei away. Let go. I have no intention of beating you up. Seeing this, Xin Yuliang's eyes darted around. He thought to himself that this was indeed a small character who couldn't be seen in public. Other than beating people up, he had no other ability. But in our circle, beating people up is the worst way to go. It will only make people look down on you. Today, I helped Brother Bai trample on Qin Guang's face. Brother Bai must be very happy, right? If it was the Qin Guang of the past, he might really beat someone up. But now, he was over 200 years old. Yes, you are amazing. I'm just a lousy internet celebrity. There's nothing amazing about me. Maybe I'll be dead tomorrow. Qin Guang sneered. Actually, he had a company with a market value of over 100 million. It was just that he didn't even know the name of the company Lioli bought, so he couldn't be bothered to mention it. Seeing him admit defeat, Xin Yuliang laughed. It's good that you know your place. But everyone can't choose their parents when they're born, right? I'm happy, carefree, and earning my own living. That's pretty good. I'm not as rich as you, but this money of mine is earned by myself. I'm happy and comfortable using it. As for you thinking that I'm relying on Jin Shuriwe, I can't be bothered to explain it to you. I'm not close to you. Chen Guang's words had basically offended almost everyone at the table. He did it on purpose. From the start of the meal until now, he could tell that when others gave him face, it was all because of Lin Jingwei. He wasn't the same type of person as these second or third generation people in this circle. It was very boring to interact with these people. There were so many things to pay attention to when eating dishes, drinking soup, and sitting at a table. They were all based on seniority. If he accidentally ate the wrong dish, it would be like poking a huge hole in the basket. He was simply annoyed. He didn't want to rely on Jin Shuriwe to sneak into this so-called upper-class society, and he didn't want to rely on Lin Jingwei to stick to these people's cold faces. They thought that he was just a small internet celebrity. So what? Anyway, in the future, we'll walk our own paths and no one will get in the way of the other. If it wasn't for Lin Jingwei and Tan Zhaohua's face, Chen Guang would have already flipped the table and left. Bai Hua also didn't expect Xin Yuliang to be like this. In such a short period of time, he had fired so many shots at him, making a good meal taste like this. He also understood that Xin Yuliang was actually doing this to curry favor with him. He knew very well that the relationship between Lin Jingwei and Chen Guang was very strong. If today's matter wasn't handled well, Xin Yuliang would be dead. But because of this matter, it would create a knot between him and Lin Jingwei, and he would be really sad. Xin Yuliang, shut up and get out. Bai Hua didn't get up. Instead, he lightly patted the table and pointed to the door. Xin Yuliang was stunned. Why? No reason. I just don't like the sight of you. Get out. I'm saying this for the last time. Bai Hua finished speaking and didn't look at him anymore. Xin Yuliang completely did not understand why. Why did Brother Xiao Bai suddenly get angry with him? Wasn't he helping him? The others at the table were also confused. Brother Bai's behavior was a little strange. No matter how they looked at it, it seemed like he was on Qin Guang's side. What exactly happened between the two of them? What was their relationship now? Lin Jingwei didn't say anything. He only used his little finger to look at the table, and his face was cold as if he was thinking about something. Chen Guang was the first to get up. Lin Jingwei, Brother Bai, there's no need to be like this. This table is full, and other than the two of you, no one else is familiar with me. I don't have any intention of sticking to anyone. I'll look for you two for dinner when I'm free. Today, I'll leave first. Previously, Chen Guang didn't have a good impression of Bai Hua. But after these two sentences, he felt that Bai Hua was quite a good person. It was obvious who was the one causing trouble at the table. It was rare that Bai Hua was using the title of his love rival to support him. Chinese men cared about their reputation the most. Bai Hua was sacrificing his reputation to protect his own. No wonder he was the only friend Lin Jingwei had in this circle. He was a good guy. Chen Guang, where are you going? I said you can't leave today. If you leave, wouldn't our trip be in vain? At this moment, Tan Zhaohua walked in first, followed by Old Master Jiang and Old Master Jin. Old Master Jiang was holding a wine bottle and a glass in his hand. It was obvious that he was here to propose a toast. The eyes of the youngsters in the youth hall suddenly narrowed. They were all dumbfounded. The old masters came to the youth hall to propose a toast. *CK. They had been eating with the old masters for decades, but this was the first time they saw the old masters coming to the youth hall to propose a toast. What the *CK? Chapter 569. Among the group of people that came in, Chen Guang only knew Tan Zhaohua. The other two looked vaguely familiar, but he couldn't remember who they were. Perhaps he had seen them on TV when he was very young. He didn't think much of it and smiled at Tan Zhaohua. General Tan, I'm done eating. I have nothing to do here, so I came over to say hello and leave. He didn't want to make the situation too awkward. It was obvious that the young people at the table were led by Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua. There was no need to bring the conflict between the young people in front of the old men. It would also make it difficult for Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua to explain. The few old men, however, were shrewd enough to notice the strange atmosphere in the youth hall as soon as they entered the room. Although they didn't know what happened, it was certain that Qin Guang and the group of young people didn't have a good relationship. Many of the old men glanced at Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei. They all knew that old Lin's son had a good relationship with Qin Guang. So the reason why Qin Guang had a conflict with the people in the youth hall must be because of Bai Hua. Old man Jin knew very well that last year, Bai Hua had come to him in private and expressed his feelings for Jin Shiyue. At that time, he rejected him with the reason that he didn't want to get involved with young people's feelings. Old man Jin sighed in his heart. Young people nowadays really took the initiative. As an older generation, it was really difficult to deal with them. Old man Zhang's temper was much more fiery. He took 2 or 3 steps forward and pushed Qin Guang to his seat. Brat, you're young, but your temper is not small. You're just like me when I was young. I like you. We're really fated. Just because of your clean and fresh hairstyle, I have to drink with you today. Don't leave. If you don't drink to your heart's content, you're not allowed to leave. As he spoke, he reached out to touch Qin Guang's bald head. Qin Guang was pushed back by the old man, and he didn't know who this person was. For a moment, he was embarrassed. This person's hands were not honest. If it wasn't for the fact that his bald head was as bright as mine, I would have kicked him. Lin Jingwei, who was next to him, reacted quickly. He stood up and pushed Qin Guang back to his seat. Grandpa Jiang said that you should sit down. Old Jiang patted his forehead. Hey, I forgot to introduce myself. My surname is Jiang, Yage's grandfather. Shall we have a drink? Qin Guang suddenly realized that he was Jiang Yage's grandfather. Sure enough, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. No wonder Jiang Yage's brain has always been short-circuited. She inherited her feelings from your grandfather. I'm not even close to you, yet you're using my bald head to get close to me. It's really crazy. You like bald heads, but I'm bald because my hair was eaten by a deer, okay? It turns out to be Grandpa Jiang. Jiang Yage often mentioned you to me. She said that Grandpa Jiang was approachable. Today, I met you, and you really deserve your reputation. Although he had already cursed in his heart, Qin Guang still sat down with a smile on his face. Damn, this old man was really strong. He was so old, but the muscles on his arms were as strong as his thighs. He must have been a butcher in the army when he was young. Old Jiang patted Qin Guang on the shoulder with a smile. Oh, young man, you're really good at talking. Good, very good. Very good. Otherwise, you would have become old Jin's grandson-in-law. I really want to make you and Yage a couple. Qin Guang thought silently. Old man, you really don't need to make me a couple. Jin Shiyue is the cover. Your granddaughter is the one who really gives me a headache. Hey, old Jin, why are you standing there? Come here. Come and see your grandson-in-law. He's a talented young man. If you don't come here, I'll really snatch him away. Old Jiang waved at old Jin, who was standing at the door, hesitating whether to come in or not. In fact, before coming here, old Jin had also thought about this situation, but he thought that Bai Yunfei was sensible and wouldn't embarrass him, so when he saw the scene at the door, he was a little unprepared. But after all, he was an old ginger, and he knew what to do. As an elder, he couldn't become timid because of the conflict between the younger generation. Moreover, when he saw Qin Guang, the rumored grandson-in-law, for the first time at the door, he really liked him. Although Qin Guang was wearing casual clothes today, perhaps it was because he had been hanging out with the elites in the army for the past few days. Coupled with his clean and neat bald head, his whole body was full of a soldier's aura, which suited his taste very well. Forget it, Shiyue didn't like Bai Hua in the first place, but she had a soft personality, so she didn't know how to reject others directly. Now that she's already with Qin Guang, why don't I, as her grandfather, be the bad guy? This can be considered as a timely end to the knot between the two families, so that there won't be more problems in the future because of this relationship. Old Jin was usually gentle, but once he made a decision, he was extremely decisive. After so many years, he and old Master Jiang, who was anxious at first and then slow at the end, complemented each other. In an instant, a warm smile hung on his face, and he quickly walked to Chen Guang's side, greeting the other young people as he walked. "Chen Guang, I've been waiting to see you for a long time. You brat, you really made me wait." Chen Guang's mind completely crashed. When old Jiang revealed old Master Jin's identity, he already wanted to run away. He hated old man Tan to the core. Didn't they say that old Master Jin might not come today? Now that Jiang Yage's grandfather and Jin Shiyue's grandfather were both here, "Old mister, aren't you pushing me into a fire pit? You're basically giving me an active volcano full of magma." He couldn't help but laugh awkwardly. Jin? He really didn't know how to address old Master Jin. If he called him Grandfather Jin, it would be too distant. After all, old Master Jin was his grandson-in-law in name. If he directly called him grandfather, it would be too abrupt for them to meet for the first time. His words were full of swords and knives. It was all a trap. Unexpectedly, in old Master Jin's eyes, his bashful appearance was like the nervousness of meeting for the first time. This made the old man feel even more comfortable in his heart. This young man was serious about his granddaughter and treated him like a grandfather. When he recalled how Tan Zhaohua had bragged about the 40 darts trained by Chen Guang over the past few days, he was even more satisfied. He was sincere, talented, young, and promising. His general policy of handing the young man's family matters to the young man was right. Shiyue had found him a good grandson-in-law. He patted Chen Guang's shoulder in satisfaction. "It's fine. Don't be nervous. You can just call me grandfather. I won't interfere with you and Shiyue's matters. I support you. Young people should be brave. As long as you don't do anything too out of line, I'll be easy to talk to. You two are so good. She's busy with work, so you should take care of her. But I know Shiyue's character the best. She looks soft on the outside, but she's tough on the inside. Since she's so open about her matters with you, she must have made up her mind to marry you. Young man, don't do anything that will let Shiyue down." Although old Master Jin's words sounded casual, they carried a lot of weight. Coming from his mouth in front of everyone, it completely represented the entire Jin family's attitude towards Chen Guang. The young people at the table were stunned, especially Xin Yuliang. Just now, he had dared to make things difficult for Chen Guang because he was sure that Chen Guang had just gotten together with Jin Shiyue. They hadn't even gotten married yet. Although the Jin family was a liberal family, it was still a circle where people of equal social status were important. If Chen Guang wanted to enter the Jin family, he would have to cross the mountain of Baihua. The Jin family's threshold was also quite high, so it wouldn't be easy to cross it. But suddenly, old Master Jin had come out to express his stance. This was equivalent to an ancient scholar who had just passed the county level being appointed as the prime minister by the emperor. He could travel 1,000 miles in a single step. "Old Master Jin, this is the first time you've met. Do you have to be like this? Why are you acting so different from the rigid and strict old masters we've known since we were young? Why is this so?" Not to mention these people, even Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei's heads were filled with question marks. Although they had expected old Master Jin to be easy to talk to, isn't your attitude a little too good? This is the person who snatched your granddaughter away without telling you anything. Lin Jingwei felt that it was the end of the world. It's over, it's over, it's over. Brother Guang and Jin Shiyue didn't have that kind of relationship. If old Master Jin found out that Brother Guang and Jin Shiyue were fake, wouldn't the sky fall down? Lin Jingwei couldn't help but look at Chen Guang with sympathy. "Brother, we've really gone too far this time. If something really happens, what should I do to protect you? What did you do to make old Master Jin let you enter the house so quickly?" Chen Guang squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. "Thank you, Grandpa. Help, oh my God, help me, can I turn back time? Can I not come for this meal today? I'm so regretful." Old man Jiang came up to him again. "Hey, old Jin, what did I say just now? Don't you think we look more like grandfather and grandson than you? Don't be so sure. I think Xiao Chen and Solomon are more compatible. He was deliberately teasing old Master Jean. To be honest, when the two salted duck eggs, one old and one young, were placed together, they really complemented each other. They reflected each other in the air and made the room brighter. Chen Guang cried even louder in his heart. The main character is here. The main character won't let me go either. Thinking about Jiang Yage's actions, Chen Guang's legs started to tremble. As the saying goes, one's mouth is soft when one takes advantage of others. He had taken advantage of Jiang Yage, and now that he's standing beside her grandfather, he naturally felt anxious. Next, Chen Guang laughed and drank with Old Master Jean, Old Master Jiang, and Old Master Tan. He was the younger generation, so he didn't refuse anyone. If someone pointed at him, he would raise a glass. Old Man Jean wasn't feeling well today, so he only drank 2 mouthfuls. On the other hand, Old Man Jiang and Old Man Tan were pulling Chen Guang to drink cup after cup, insisting that he drink to his heart's content today. Fortunately, Chen Guang has a great capacity for alcohol, so he only has to bring it on. It's best for us to speak less and drink more. He really didn't wish to discuss Jean Shiyue's matter with Old Man Jean. Every additional word he said would only sink him deeper into the mud. He was really afraid that when the truth came to light, he wouldn't be able to extricate himself from the mud. The others at the table were stunned and peeked at Chen Guang and the 3 old men as if there was no one else present. You said you were toasting, but aren't you toasting too warmly? What the hell? What the hell is this for? We don't understand. From the beginning to the end, the group of juniors in the youth hall only dared to raise their heads and greet the old men when they came in. However, they heard every word clearly from the beginning to the end, not daring to miss a single word. Although they didn't know what happened, it was obvious that Chen Guang had become a favorite in front of the old men. Although it was only 3 old men who came to toast, it was almost unheard of in their circle. It was even more unimaginable that they were so familiar with each other. Shen Yuliang sat on the chair, and behind him was Old Man Jiang, who had his arm around Chen Guang's shoulder. He felt like he was sitting on pins and needles, and cold sweat flowed down his back. He had caused a huge disaster and poked a huge hole in the ground. Isn't Chen Guang an internet celebrity? What kind of medicine did these old men take? One had to know that even though everyone present was a direct descendant of the younger generation, when they met these elders, other than nodding and greeting them, they didn't even have the chance to speak to them. Among those present, only Bai Hua was asked by the elders to see if he had made any progress recently. As for the others, don't even think about it. Bai Hua was rarely left out. As the absolute leader of the younger generation in Yanjing, he had always been the center of attention when he was with the older generation. But today's protagonist was obviously not him, which made him feel a little disappointed. But he quickly adjusted his mentality. Perhaps the old men deliberately came to help Chen Guang. After all, from Shen Yuliang's previous attitude, it could be seen that the people at this table didn't have a high acceptance of Chen Guang. At this time, Old Man Jiang had almost drunk to his heart's content. He seemed to be a little tipsy. In such a short time, he had unknowingly drunk 4 ounces of wine, and Chen Guang had drunk a whole 1.5 pounds. Unfortunately, Old Man Jiang was old, and he was the one who couldn't hold on anymore. Old Man Jiang waved his hand. You are indeed the boy I like. I admire your refreshing drinking. Okay, let's stop here today. I'll find you another day to drink slowly. Everyone was relieved. It was finally time to leave. Unexpectedly, he suddenly took 2 steps forward and stood behind Bai Hua. He patted Bai Hua's shoulder heavily and said with the help of alcohol, Little Bai, there are some things that I, Old Jean, can't say. I, Old Jiang, have drunk a little, so what I say may be nonsense and not very pleasant to hear. But you have to listen. Old Man Jean wanted to stop him. Old Man Jiang, that's enough. Old Man Jiang waved his hand. I'm just saying a few words. I won't make things difficult for the younger generation. Bai Hua, I watched you grow up. Your brain is really good. We all have high hopes for you. But you are a person who wants to do big things, so you have to think things through. Don't fight with your brother Chen Guang. You are a young man, so there is nothing you can't overcome. To borrow a popular saying among you young people, there is no problem in this world that can't be solved with a barbecue. If there is, then 2 barbecues. As he said that, he patted Bai Hua's shoulder meaningfully. His words were actually very heavy, very straightforward, and even very hurtful. If it were anyone else, especially old Jean, Bai Hua would definitely be hurt by old Jiang's words. However, old Jiang deliberately made himself sound like he was drunk, so Bai Hua wouldn't be too bothered by it. Although his face was red from drinking, his heart was clear. How did Bai Hua feel at this moment? Grievance, great grievance. I wasn't the one who made things difficult for Qinguang just now. I don't want to be the scapegoat. He turned slightly and looked at Xin Yuliang as if he wanted to eat him alive. The culprit glared at him until a chill ran down his spine. Grandpa Jiang, don't say that. I also apologize to Grandpa Jean. In the past, I was insensible and didn't separate the relationship between a brother and a sister. Now I've thought it through. I like Shuiwei very much, but I really like her as if she is my biological sister. I'm not bragging, I have found someone I really like. Jingwei introduced him to me, and I've been urging him to help me build a bridge. As for me, I will give everyone a military pledge. Within 2 years, I will definitely let everyone attend my wedding, okay? Bai Hua really didn't want to be the scapegoat, so he had no choice but to desperately step on Lin Jingwei's foot under the table, urging him to hurry up and save him. Lin Jingwei, who was playing with the invisibility suit, turned pale. Oh my God, military pledge your sister. There is no such person on earth, okay? But this was not the time to undermine him, so Lin Jingwei could only chuckle. Yes, really, I can testify. Oh, there's such a good thing? The few old men were happy. The Bai family's brat actually made a military pledge for his marriage. This was really a joyous matter in their circle. If old Bai knew about this in the afterlife, these old men could finally relax. Who didn't know that Bai Hua was proud and arrogant? It wasn't easy to find a woman that could catch his eye. Old man Jean was the happiest. He finally got rid of the knot in his heart. Jingwei, you really have to pay attention to your brother Bai Hua's matter. Lin Jingwei nodded vigorously. Yes, I will definitely pay attention. Chen Guang, who had already drunk 5 liters of wine, silently stuffed meat into his mouth. He felt that he had become the center of the storm today. Everything was revolving around him. It was too scary, really too scary. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that Bai Hua would act as if he had obtained an imperial sword. He would actually complain about Lin Jingwei in front of everyone. I've already asked Jingwei to help me make an appointment with many people, but he's always using all sorts of excuses. He won't even let me meet him. Hey, little Lin, how can you treat your brother like this? Old man Jiang had a fiery temper. He raised his hand and slapped Lin Jingwei's head. Do you still want to take advantage of this opportunity to take advantage of me? Lin Jingwei looked like he was about to cry. No. It's nothing. It's just a little inconvenient. What's so inconvenient about meeting and having a meal? In Huaxia, who can't even have a meal together? Is it inconvenient today or tomorrow? Or is it inconvenient every day? The more old man Jiang said, the angrier he got. Make an appointment. Make an appointment. I will make an appointment for you. I will. I swear. Lin Jingwei was about to cry. Why is my life so bitter? The military order number 2 came soon after. Then it's settled. I will ask brother Bai Hua later. If you don't do this well, I will bring your grandfather to beat you up. Old man Jiang was satisfied. Bai Hua was even more happy. He suddenly felt that it was worth it to be a scapegoat today. Finally, the clouds parted to reveal the moon. Let's see if you still want to be mysterious. Lin Jingwei felt a mouthful of blood welling up in his chest. At this moment, he only wanted to ask the heavens. Beneath the table, his right leg was bruised from Bai Hua's stomp, and his left leg was nearly fractured from Qin Guang's retaliation. Qin Guang didn't want to say anything. I will make an appointment with you. The 3 old men finally left with satisfaction. As soon as they walked out, old man Jiang and old man Jean looked at each other. There was no trace of drunkenness on their faces. They were full of happiness seeing their children and grandchildren. This time, we have a good explanation for the dead old Bai. Old man Zhang's eyes were filled with tears. Elder Jean nodded as well. Yeah, if not, I'd feel really bad. Back then, Elder Bai was injured so badly because he wanted to protect the two of us. He didn't even have the chance to enjoy his good life before he died. I still remember how he hugged Bai Hua before he died, crying and begging us to take care of him. These past few years, I've been feeling really helpless. Old man Jean, it hasn't been easy for you these past few years. It hasn't been easy. On the other side, Old man Tan signaled to Secretary Chu, who was waiting at the door. Secretary Chu understood and kept them in suspense. They couldn't let the juniors in the room naively think that the three old men were promoting Qin Guang because of Jin Shiyue. They had to let them know the true importance of Qin Guang. Background was only one of the reasons why they guided the juniors. The most important factor was their ability. They had to let the other kids know that Qin Guang relied on his true ability. Everything else was useless and unimportant. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.